gonna do it. Black boy, tell me how you really feel. I just wanna build with you. Black girl, tell me how you really feel. I just wanna keep it real with you. I wanna live better, eat better. I wanna love better, sleep better. I wanna feel so aligned, sublime. One time for the state of mind, 2 times for elevated rhymes. No, I architected when I lay design. I drown noise out of the clear blue. I sit, twist the threads of said silence. That's an heirloom. I am the shepherd, I share sheep. Still fleece funds from the have-it-alls to the matadors who sidestep the bull beautifully to that applause. Around rappers, a higher caliber catalog shines, reminds I ain't coming to flatter y'all. I spark chatter, dark matter, the sharks scatter on these dark waters. Who walk taller, who barks orders? God body, guarding what all the laws taught us. Not a peer, it's rear, they veer near. I pierce deep, I'm revered, my steps remain clear with fierce sweeps. Not a man here who could censor me. I'm on the pier, Elohim with the energy. Black boy, tell me how you really feel. I just wanna build with you. Black girl, tell me how you really feel. I just wanna keep it real with you. I wanna live better, eat better. Yeah. I wanna love better, sleep better. Yeah, I wanna feel so aligned. Let me talk to y'all over here. Sublime. 1 time for elevated rhymes, 2 times for showmanship, 3 times for black hands and land ownership. Revolution I bring to you, wedding ring bling to you. Nisi blues on war tunes to sing to you. I am a rebel without a pause, no applause. Trust me, I must be Chuck D getting mine off. Many fools been clock watching my moves and I needed a reappraisal of flavor. I took the time off. Now, back Jesus, black feet is slumbering unborn. Ark of the covenant curtain untorn. I'm a rose that rose to etch prose in Rosetta Stone. Yelling it through a megaphone, always rapping, baby, forever home. I ain't the pot calling the kettle black. I'm the flame keeping the kettle warm, and I am to blame for the renaissance. It's cold, had to write and recite it with down feathers on. Black boy, tell me how you really feel, cause I just wanna build with you. Black girl, tell me how you really feel. I just wanna keep it real with you. Yeah, I wanna live better, eat better. I wanna love better, sleep better. Yeah, I wanna feel so aligned, sublime. Sublime. I wanna live better, eat better. Sublime. 1 time for elevated rhymes, 2 times for showmanship, 3 times for black hands and land ownership. Revolution I bring to you, wedding ring bling to you. Nisi blues on war tunes, singing to you. I am the rebel without a pause, no applause. Trust me, I am Chuck D, getting mine off. Many fools, they clock watching my moves, and I needed a reappraisal of flavor. Took some time off now. Back Jesus, black feet is slumbering unborn. Ark of the covenant curtain untorn. I'm the rose that rose to etch his prose in Rosetta Stone. Still yelling it through a megaphone. Always repping, baby, forever home. I ain't the pot calling the kettle black. I am the flame keeping the kettle warm. I'm to blame for the renaissance that's cold. I write and recite it with down feathers on. I love you and write and recite it with down feathers on. That mean that shit cold. And I'm the coldest. Listen, it's the message right here. Black boy, tell me how you really feel, cause I just wanna build with you. Black girl, tell me how you really feel. I wanna keep it real with you. I wanna live better, eat better. I wanna love better, sleep better. Yeah, I wanna feel so aligned. Sublime. Y'all give a round of applause to this band right now. When they tell me they want to feel the chords a little more, then we got to do that shit again. That wasn't in the rehearsal. We didn't do that. That was not a part of the set list. Roderick was just in my head like, yo, let's do it again. So we're going to do it again. So we did it again. This next record, we're going to get into it since we're having a message to my black boys. Tell me how y'all really feel. I know y'all going through it. We going through it. Black women, tell me how you really feel. I know y'all going through it. Y'all been going through it. So we're going to keep that going. We're going to talk to y'all directly because I love y'all. I love y'all deeply. And I love y'all forever, and I'm unapologetic about that love. You'll be like, yo, well, you know, I'll be like, yo, we're going to do this right now for the black women. Be like, we're going to do it for all women. I'm like, no, that ain't what I said. I said, we're going to do this for the sisters, but well, what about all of us? I just be like, no, I said we're going to, you know.
What's up, family? What's going on? What's going on? Y'all, please put a thumbs up if you can hear me. Welcome back. All right, let us get this thing going. I'm gonna assume those of you guys in attendance can hear me. Welcome. My name's Alan. Tonight we are joined by a returning guest, Ms. Jamie Moorhead. She will be, we'll be talking about a bunch of things, but primarily this will be her opportunity to elaborate and respond to her appearance on the channel. Probably about 8 months ago, she and I did an interview, excuse me, and we talked about a myriad of things. One of the episodes that she's featured on is called Sex Addiction. Another one that she's featured on is called Sunshine. So we talked about, motherhood. We talked about generational traumas. We talked about a lot of things, and she had a lot of interesting insight on the Black community's gender dynamics, our gender dysfunction. So yeah, I'm hyped. As you guys know, June 24th, we will be in Atlanta, Georgia for the 100. If you haven't already, please grab your tickets. I'm trying to, dot the I's and cross the T's currently. I am also working on revamping the Christian by Default video series. I've mentioned a few times. There's an older version on the channel if you go to the playlist and click Christian by Default, but I wanted to revamp it now that I have a bit better equipment. So if you know any theologians, pastors, priests that would be interested in or would be willing to field some questions that I have about divinity, about the church, please reach out to me. Here is my email. But initially, that project was supposed to be a documentary, but, I got to kind of do what I can with what I have, so I'm turning it into a series instead. So similar to how I interview women, I'll be interviewing theologians. As some of you guys know, theology is intimately linked to Blackness, particularly in an American context. So I kind of want to elaborate on our relationship and not just in an American context, but also in an African context. I tell people sometimes of the 5 richest men in Africa, at least 3 of them are pastors, right? So that's not a mistake, and I, for one, want to explore that, right? So yeah, also working on editing videos for this week. As I've mentioned before, YouTube is not helping the boy out at all. Sometimes I post content, people don't even see it. So please do not rely on the notifications. They don't work. Please just get in the habit of checking the channel periodically. I even have channel members who are paid channel members and subscribers, and they're not getting notifications. Obviously, it's frustrating, but hey, what are you gonna do? Still working on the website. Yeah. Again, thank you guys for being here. This won't be a long one, I promise. We're gonna run through, some of Jamie's thoughts. We're going to elaborate on some of the things we touched on during the interviews. We might field some callers, and then we'll call it a night. But again, thank you guys for being here. As always, a members only stream. You can bypass that with super chats, cash apps, or by becoming a member. So yeah, without further ado, let me make sure. Let me see if my sound effects work. I didn't even do that. Okay, they work. Without further ado, Miss Jamie Radiance.
Well, that was good. That's a good one right there.
It's simple. It's simple, straight to the point. How you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, YouTube is stressful, but we're trying to make it through.
Yeah, they
But
don't.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was like, they don't like you, is what you said. So
This, I don't know at this point. I'm just
I don't
trying
get
to keep my head
notifications
down.
anymore, so I don't know when anything comes on.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't. And you know, initially, I tried to combat that by posting at the same time every week. You know, on the same days, but still, you know, I guess most people aren't catching on to that or even clicking on the about page to see when I post. But you know, I got to do what I have, what I can, what I have. It is what it is. But how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. I had a
Yeah,
long weekend. I had a good weekend actually, so I
yeah,
just got back in to town.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
you look
Listen, I
like you're
appreciate.
really trying to get your life together for real.
That's what I was gonna say. I appreciate your patience. I know we were supposed to get your response video done a while back, but I had to keep pushing it back. So I wanna, you know, I wanna shout you out for being patient with me. What has your experience been following the interview? You know, have you gotten DMs? Have you gotten messages? You know, what did your family members think of the interview?
Well, okay. As far as the DMs, I did, but they probably didn't like it because I told them that they needed to get their life together and not be DMing people they don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I even told one dude, I was like, I could be Satan's daughter. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't even know me to be in my inbox, and so I could be a man. To be completely
Mm.
honest, and I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm just saying like sometimes we got to scale back a little bit and just. I was like, did you look at my Instagram at all? Like, did you go through it a little bit just to see, like, maybe I have a man? Do you have a man? I said, I could lie to you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm.
I could lie to you. I don't know. I was a little blown away. But I haven't been out in these dating streets anyway, so I really don't know how it is. And then one guy was like, "What did I post that made you think I wanted you to DM me? Like, what did?" So I don't do it again. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
But like my family, like the one that I think kind of was the first one, maybe that kind of like made the 304 one. I think
Mm-hmm.
it stirred the pot a little bit with that one.
Mm.
Hmm.
What did they say? What were their reactions to it?
You know, I don't think anybody likes, those type of things being said out loud on a platform. But like I had said, it's either I, reveal my truth or somebody else that knows me tells their version of my truth. And so at
Mm.
this point, I am able to state what has happened in my life
Mm.
rather than trying to defend. I'm more of like a proactive person rather than a reactive.
So, for the people who may not have seen that particular video,
Mhm.
give us a recap of what the conversation was and what your stance was.
Oh my gosh, like I don't remember this 8 months ago.
Well, I mean, so the people who've reached out to you, the family members who've watched it, what kept jumping out to them about that? What clip? What
Like my
thing that you
dad,
said jumped out?
being, the pimp and stuff like that. And then like people not understanding that my mom and my dad were married and she didn't know what type of lifestyle he had. And so I don't feel like I had went in depth of like the deceptive part of my father
Mm.
towards my mom. And then the fact that my mom was a foreigner and she really didn't know, what I'm saying, anything about his life. She just knew what she saw when she initially met him, which was the facade of being an accountant.
Mm. Well, so this is your opportunity. So tell the story. Fill in the blanks as far as how your parents met, who your dad was prior to meeting your mom, who your mom was, and then we'll segue into like how it's affected you.
Okay, so my parents met. My mom was working at, they have those buildings where they have multiple offices in there. And so
Yeah.
down the hall, my mom worked as a medical assistant, and my dad had a quote unquote accountant firm situation. Now, this is the story he told me. He said that there would be women in and out of the accounting firm. And so one day my mom went over there and was like, "What do you do?" And that's how the conversation started, to be completely honest. So she
Yeah.
just kind of like was like, "Why do you have people in and out? Like, why do you have these women in and out of this stuff?" And like, nobody's ever really talked to my dad like that. And plus, he liked her accent, and then she was cute. You know what I'm saying? So he asked her out, and that's kind of really how that started.
You said during the interview that your dad was a pimp.
Yeah. So the women in and out of there were
So I mean, has he ever broken it down to like how he even got into pimping in the first place? Like
my
what?
dad was in and out of jail for a long time. So before he had met my mom, oh, this part, like, see, I didn't even get to say this part. So even before he had met my mom, he had already been on death row at one point and was released.
Damn.
Yeah. And so the reason why my mom even found out that he went to jail was she had gotten a phone call from the LA Times, maybe wanting to interview my dad on his release, like being released from death row and how life was after being released. So imagine marrying the man, you know what I'm saying, and like having a kid, and then you get that phone call, right? And then you're not from here. My mom wasn't a citizen at that time, so she was an illegal alien.
So was what do you feel like it was a situation where your dad took advantage of her, or do you think she was using him to try to get her citizenship?
No, I think he took advantage of her. He told me that he married her because he knew that she would go back to Belize, like if she had the chance, and so that the it's almost like a trap in a way.
So she didn't really care about being a citizen.
No, I mean she was making it.
Wow. Okay. So I remember asking you during the interview, like your dad's personality, your dad's shortcomings. How has that affected you as an adult?
I mean, I would say that they call this thing the paradigm, right? There's the paradigms in the environment that you're grow up in, and then although that I didn't know those things really until like I turned like 20, maybe like 20 ish, no, 19. I would say 19 ish is when I was like, oh, dad is not who I thought he was, right? Um, you're still influenced subconsciously. So subconsciously, I have picked men that almost mimic my father in a way, as far as like not being emotionally available, a womanizer in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like those type of things. I have picked that individual. They have the veneer of looking like they're regular guys with great jobs and great personalities, but they have a whole different life behind closed doors every time.
When did you become aware of this pattern?
After I had my kid, because my son's
Yeah.
father is you would never think it. He is definitely the what I would call the blue collar black guy. Super smart, handsome dude. I mean, when I say you would never think that the other person existed, nobody would ever really know. Now it's caught up to him. He's older. He can't fake it. But when I met him, he was still able to have the double life. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm this person in public, and I am this person um, not in public. So yeah. hmm And
So when you talk to younger women,
then,
maybe younger women that you see a pattern of behavior similar to yours before
mhm.
you met your son's father, what type of advice, like what type of game are you giving them?
I I don't even want to call it game. It's just most likely. I think as women we talk too much, right? Like initially, the man asks a bunch of questions. He seems like he's into you. And so you just give him all of the playbook for yourself. Like, how do I play her? And then we also like to vent about past relationships to this person. I would say scale back a little bit, ask him questions, and then ask those questions a couple months later if you're still talking to him, because I promise you the answer is going to change. And I think that what we don't do is give time, and we don't like to say what we want up front. If we just told them what we wanted up front, we probably would run a lot of those people off. Period. Like if we just said, "Hey, I'm looking for this. If this is not what you're looking for, then we don't need to talk," because we're wasting each other's time. Because what a lot of women do, because they just want that attention, he'll be like, "Let's just go with the flow," and she's like, "Okay, well maybe I can convince him to want what I want." Well, he might not want to. He might not want that. But if you're telling him like all the things that have happened in your past, he's going to make sure he doesn't do those for the first 6 months. Of course not. He's going to be like, okay, I don't know, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Even if that is in his nature, he's going to pretend because he wants pussy. Like, I'm just saying, it's just men do things.
Well, so okay, let's flip it on the other side.
Okay.
How are women enabling that type of behavior from men?
Being thirsty.
How? Okay, so what do you? Because I know during the interview we talked about like seeking attention, seeking validation, low
Yeah.
self-esteem, things like that. Say more about it.
Um, it's kind of hard for me. Like, where do you want me to start? I look at, we can talk about today's society. We have women that are absolutely gorgeous, right? Let's be real. I mean, talking about beautiful, bodies banging, hair banging. They are the 20% women, though, right? That's what I call them, the 20s. And because they have nothing else to offer but that, they go into relationships based on, and men court these women as if they are 80. Go into there, they have sex with these women get attention for a little bit, and then they get cheated on. They get cheated on, they get dragged through the mud, and they can't understand why this is happening to them, because of their beauty, because they have been allowed to think because they're pretty, they're going to get everything they want. And eventually, um, become desperate. And so that's where you see, well, I'll be willing to be your side chick, or I'll be willing to be in a relationship with you and somebody else, just be as long as I have somebody, because I have been beat down emotionally so bad, and my confidence was not in anything but my looks, that I'm willing to just be thirsty. And that's what I've seen.
So what I guess what I'm trying to get at is a lot of times when we talk about this gender war, we talk about it like one-sided, right?
Okay.
Like when it's a group of women, they're talking about how men ain't shit. When it's a group of men, they're talking about how women ain't shit. What do you feel like we're missing?
I feel like everybody's not taking accountability. The hardest thing for me was looking in the mirror and saying, "This is what your problem is, and this is not technically an asset. And what man is going to marry you if you're still acting like this?" It is the self reflection of it all. Nobody likes to dig that deep, because once you do dig that deep, you have two choices. You have a choice to remain the same and then be toxic to people as you go on with your life, or you have the choice to consciously every day say, "I am not going to be that person." Does that make sense? So you have to hold yourself accountable. And at the end of the day, you have to be like, was what I did to that person necessary today? Like, nobody wants to take that time to really dig in, because you're going to find parts of you that actually are ugly. And a lot of it could be something that was from your environment. And then you have to look at your people that raised you and be like, gosh, are we really that messed up? It's a harsh reality. Like, are we that really that deceived? Or are we just comfortable in our, I would like to say, you can't put sugar in shit and make it sweet. Are we comfortable in that shit? You know what I'm saying? Do we? Because okay, give you an example. Cook in your house with onions and garlic, right? You don't really smell it. Step outside, come back in, and you're like, oh my God, right? I stink.
It's strong, yeah.
Yeah, you don't know that you stink until you step outside of yourself and your situation and be like,
Yeah.
oh, There's something foul about me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not willing to hold myself accountable. Intimacy, true intimacy, like when you meet a woman that is the woman for you, she's going to have you look at the ugly side of yourself. And it's our
Yeah.
job to hold one another accountable. When people get into that part of the relationship, we often leave and we say, "Oh, we're getting toxic." No, what we're doing is we're not wanting to hold ourselves accountable, and we don't want to hear somebody else that we want to cheer us on all the time to say that to us, because we want to be their superhero. We want to be golden in their eyes, right? But what I would prefer now is to have somebody to say, "Jamie, you're full of shit," right? Then I'll be like, "Oh, for real, that's how you feel." And then I'll go be like, "Okay, well, what part of that was full of shit?" Right? So that I can make sure or be conscious, like, is it me that's the problem, or is it you that you haven't healed? Like, so we could get down to the nitty gritty, but again, it's that like I said, we right here, we as people are like this when really we need to be doing this. We need to get dirty. We need to have that level of like transparency. Like I mean, once we get to that point where we're comfortable saying, "Hey, today was a messed up day. Today I don't feel like talking to you," and we'd be like, "Okay, fine." You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll go in my room and you go in yours, and we'll just do that. Or maybe I don't want to hear how you feel today, because actually I don't care. Tell me you wouldn't want to be in a relationship like that. Like, "Hey, babe, look, I know you've got a lot on your mind, but I really don't care today. Not today." Right? And they'd be like, but look, I just really want my feet rubbed, you know what I'm saying? And I want a good drink and I just want to relax. How many of us really want something like that? But how do you work to get that? You have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to get to that ugly part. My brother has been married for a long time. I probably say 25, maybe more years. And he said there was one season where all they did was argue. He said, "I didn't even know who was gonna make it." Like, he was like, there was just that season of like the power struggle that I talked about. And a lot of that power struggle is, I don't want to be so vulnerable that you can hurt me, that you can break me. I don't want to be that in love with you. I want to hold on to some type of control, but love, you can't control that. Not real love. You're not supposed to. Just saying.
So one of the things I like to ask women, because I feel like the mistake we get or we make sometimes is men tend to ask women to be more like men, and women tend to ask men to be more like women. So, what insight can you give us men on female pathology to better understand how y'all think, how y'all function, how y'all process situations?
Most women lie about what's really on their mind, to be honest. And I'm just gonna be like, initially, because what has happened is when we have said what was on our mind, it's been dismissed. So we go around, how you be like, why are you going around in circles in what you're saying to me? Why don't you just tell me direct? Well, because before, when I told my mom or my dad or something, they invalidated my feelings, right? So what did you say? You said what do men need to know about women? Women do for men what we actually want done for us. So if you have a woman that showers you with gifts or compliments, most likely that's what she's wanting from you. I would say 90% of the time that's what she's wanting. So she's doing it because she wants to do it for you, but she's also doing it as like a nonverbal communication of like, "Hey babe, this is what my love language is."
Right.
Right. And so a lot of times men just take, like, men, you be like, "Oh, okay, well, I didn't ask her to do that, so I'm gonna just keep on taking." I like all this. And she's like, um, okay. So he's not gonna do it. And then she'll pick an argument about something so stupid. She's like, "I just don't like the way you did this," but it don't be that. It's just the fact that you did not pour into her the way that she was pouring into you, and she's gonna find something to make an argument about. I don't feel like you appreciate me. And you're like, what? I do appreciate you. I said, thank you. That's not what she asked you for. She asked you non-verbally to do exactly what she was doing for you, but you didn't do that.
So, okay, let's say you're giving your son advice.
Hmm.
How do men navigate that in the best possible way?
What do you mean navigate? Tell me you want to be spoiled without telling me. Yeah, that's it. That's who
Well,
me
I mean,
that I want to
so
be
the thing
spoiled.
is, the thing is, as men, we're not mind readers, and one of the consistent things that I hear from women is low key asking us to be. So I guess what I'm asking is, what can men better pay attention to, or what can men better do preemptively
Mm,
to kind of keep us in the green when it comes to y'all, and not have to wait until you get upset or you feel unloved and all that good stuff.
I would just do a check in with her. You know what I'm saying? Especially like if you build that where you're okay. I think women say consistency, is key, but really what it is like, say you're like, hey babe, what did you like when I gave you these flowers? And she'd be like, well, I kind of like the flowers, but I liked it better when we did this, right? And so then the next time you actually do what she said that she liked, right? That's technically what we would consider consistency, rather than being consistent in the negative. So just to check in, like you can really start that from the beginning and be consistent throughout, as long as it's mutual though. Like you have to have that open communication. So when she's telling you her what she needs, then you should be able to tell her what you need. It should be a mutual consensus, but it has to be discussed at the beginning. Like you have to be like, okay, this is what I want our conversations to be like. This is how we're going to set this up.
Right.
And I think we don't do that. I think we just, like I said, people go in and they're like, let's just see how it goes. No, we have to be intentional with our time. We're like, we're we're older. We should know better, but not even that. Like we should stop wasting time. I would say our counterparts, our people that don't look like us, that in the color, they are intentional when they do certain things. They're intentional. They may play around for a little bit, but like my son's friends that are Caucasian, they know what they want to marry already. They know what they're going to get. They may have a little friend here and there, but I'm telling you, by 11th grade, 12th grade, that woman's going to switch and they are going to probably be married, right out of high school or after like their first year of college. But they know what they want. Our people, we are not intentional. We want to play the field, and that's what we've been taught, like play the field and do that, and play games. And I mean, come on now, think about that. Like, what good does that do but create more damaged people? And then, we're not helping or healing nobody, to be honest.
So what do you think is missing from this conversation? This the manosphere, the YouTube conversation, the general like gender war. What piece do you wish people would spend more time on?
Their relationship with Jesus.
All right, well, talk
I'm
about
gonna
it.
keep it. I'm gonna be honest, because me before my it wasn't an experiment at first, but my my experience with Jesus, I was not, like I told you, I could care less about somebody's feelings. I didn't want to be responsible for anybody's feelings. I didn't want kids. I didn't want none of that. Nothing, because all I had seen was people be in relationships and look unhappy and go to church and be unhealed. And so um when I had my son, like was like really my turning point. I just looked at him after I had him, and I was like, I don't want you to go through what I went through. I don't want you to be a stereotypical black man. I don't want you to suffer unnecessarily. I don't want you to have heartbreak and not be able to process it. These are other things that I had said I didn't want for him. And I said, in order for that to happen, I'm going to have to change for real. I know that my parents said that Jesus is real for real, but I'm going to try him out for myself seriously. And that's what happened. And that's all, like, that was my turning point, was the hospital room with my son after I had him. And if I,
What's
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish your point.
No, if I wouldn't have taken that journey, I wouldn't have broken my ego and pride and all of these things that I thought were me down, and actually got to the core of who I really am, and created like my kid. I'm okay. I'm not even gonna brag about my kid. I'm gonna just, because y'all, they came for me with my kid, and that one part pissed me off. But go ahead. No, I did. Because I don't know any other mom that would do what I have done. None.
So, I mean, talk about how, because you said the turning point for you was your relationship with God.
Yeah.
So, what have you noticed that's been different in your life? Like, what outcomes have been different
Oh my God, everything.
pre relationship and post relationship?
I mean, like, I have healthier relationships. I know boundaries. I have discernment. I'm able to be like, okay, we're not going to waste each other's time. You know what I'm saying? Like, just you're able to distinguish. There's a standard of living, right? And if the Bible says, if two walk together, can two walk together except for they agree? Why are you investing in people that you cannot agree with? It's just logical. And if somebody doesn't accept your train of thought or your thinking, it's simple. Just dust your feet off and move on. You don't hate them. You don't have to. You still love them, but from a distance. It's just really that simple. Like, the Bible is, I mean, Jesus got bars and he's got knowledge. I don't understand why he said that people perish for their lack of knowledge. We are out here perishing in these relationships, in these single streets, because we lack the knowledge. That's simple in there. Sam said, what Solomon said, leave them hoes alone. He even describes what a hoe is, but black men tend to go after that hoe.
Okay, so Afro Disciple, shout out to you for the 4.99 super chat. He says, or communicate your needs without expecting us to figure it out. For the love of God, please stop giving white folks so much credit. They're messy too. What's your response to that?
I think I answered that. I think he would type that while I was still talking, right? Because I said to communicate. I said that had to be a conversation that's up front, right? I did. I
No,
answered.
I think it was the point when you said, like the white boys know by 11th grade who they're gonna marry, and
They
black
do.
men
They have a
are.
plan. I mean, just be real.
Speak your truth.
I feel like, that's what you the problem right there, Afro. Just, you can't take the truth. The truth is that we don't teach our black men, our black boys, to have a plan. We teach them to play football. We teach them to play games. All that, we put focus on those things in this society, right? To be a rapper, to do the arts. We don't teach them that they need to have a plan. Because even if you want to do arts, that's fine. Do it on the side until you can make that your lifetime thing. But do you have a plan about your life? Do you have a plan with the type of wife that you want in your life, so that she doesn't stress you out and she can help you and complement you in that plan? Do you have that? No. I've seen plenty of white kids with a full plan. That's why they're able to sign up for scholarships and get those bad boys in the 11th grade. So you can get mad
I
at me if you
think
want to, but the truth is the truth.
I think one of the pushbacks that you might get, and I've talked about this during the interviews as well. Like, as much as we are critical of black men and black boys, I think black women and black girls share some of that blame because, unlike, for instance, you mentioned your son, unlike his white counterparts, the little black girls in class are not incentivizing the boys who have the scholarships. They're incentivizing the athletes and the rappers. Those are the ones they want to date. Those are the ones they want to sleep with. So the young boys feel like this is who I need to become.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if they were white, there's not that same pressure to be Tupac, who was an ex-gangster and that can fight. And
And
then
I
also, on top of that,
okay.
a lot of these boys, these problematic black men that we're complaining about, were raised by single mothers who
Mm,
also did not instill in them any sense of discipline or any
okay.
sense of, as you put it, a plan.
Right.
So how do we have the full conversation of the role that women play in black men's dysfunction?
Right. And that's why I mean, I see, and that's where it gets, the conversation gets hard, is because I was the person that decided to change my life and be able to instill those things in my son. Um, Women would have to do what we're supposed to do, which is hold women accountable and teach women how to be. If you're going to be a single mom by choice because you're making screwed up decisions like I did and just was having sex until magically I got pregnant and was like, oh, how did that happen? Um, then there's going to be mentors, or there needs to be somebody out there that teaches them how to be a good mother to either that son or that daughter. Because I told my son the other day, I'm worried about the women that he has to look at as potential anything for him. And it's just true because, like you said, and I've had to talk to him several times, he liked a girl and then she floated to a athlete or a you know, one of those boys, like not so, anyways, ain't got nothing going for themselves. And so it made him question himself. You know what I'm saying? So we had to have that talk. Gosh, like last week, to be honest, we had to have that discussion. But again, a lot of parents don't have discussions with their kids. They just assume, you know what I'm saying, that their kids know how to handle those type of things. And it's an assumption of it all. We really need to have real conversations with our children. But I built a relationship with my kid. He talks to me. He got in the car. He was like, let me tell you what, let me tell you what she did. And so I was like, oh yeah, So I gave him the female perspective on why she did it. And he was like, okay, that makes more sense. But he has a plan. He has a plan. And he was like, she didn't even fit the plan. And that's how he moved on. She didn't fit the plan.
So okay, so thought experiment.
Okay.
Let's say you were not your son's mother.
Oh my God.
You were his age currently.
Uh-huh.
Would you have chosen your son?
Yeah. I mean, I was, yeah. Yeah, because I had a plan.
Explain.
Like as far as I was thinking about this before I even got on here. Like as far as like things that he would have in common, as far as like video games and just like extracurricular activities, um, just things like that. There's like this girl that I was thinking about that he had linked up with a while ago that was like literally perfect. Like perfect, beautiful. They had the same things in common without her trying to be like him, and but they just live too far apart right now. So yeah, like he's super smart. Why would I not? He was an athlete at one point. He just chose to not do to do football anymore. So
Well, I asked that question not because of you specifically, but I do see a lot of, and I've talked about this in the Listen to Black Men series as well. I see a lot of women raise sons that they wouldn't even date.
oh yeah,
And and what I mean specifically is they raise sons that they would date at 30 or 40, but they wouldn't have dated at 15, 16, 20, 21, 22. And a lot of those boys, you see them either get their heart broken or
right.
you see them taking their business to the white community or to the Asian community. And then the mother sits back and is like, where did I go wrong? So like, I guess the question I'm trying to get at is
Is it really the mom's
what
fault though, or is it the fact that
I don't
women
I
are not
don't think
right?
I don't think it's the mom's fault, but I do think that our community of women could spend more time rectifying young girls as opposed to
Yeah,
demonizing
yeah.
young men.
No, I
So
agree with you.
so the question is, what do you feel like? I guess OG women who did make not the best decisions when they were younger. what kind of wisdom do you think they can impart on the young girls to not repeat those same mistakes, and then later down the line wonder why, or wonder where all the good men at?
I mean, like I just what I did with my son, just tell the truth. Like I dated these guys, this didn't work out, or I thought that this would work out for me. I mean, but we have to. Like for instance, I'm going to be speaking to some female basketball players, some young ones, right, about body image and our society, and so we have to start, at that age. I would say like elementary, and then just go ahead and implement different things because it's not fair that there's being moms out here that are raising sons, like you said, in a world where women are not preparing their daughters for men like that. So there is almost like we're always like this, like, okay, and we're never here, right? So we got to get out in those streets with those
Why do you
girls.
think? Why do you think? I think a lot of men would say that the girls aren't listening. Why do you like when you think back to 15, 16, 17-year-old Jamie? Why do you think the girls aren't listening?
So
And
we
what do
think
you
we
think
know everything
as a community we can do better to move things in the right direction?
because we think we know everything. Like I told somebody the other day, if there's one thing that is universal about women, we come out being bossy. We come out being bossy. If you have a little girl, she'll be able to she willing to point the finger and tell you what to do without words sometimes. Little girls are naturally bossy. We think we know everything. We just do. I don't know where that comes from. Yeah, across the board. So, and only a woman can talk to that. It's hard though, because we're stubborn. The princess complex.
So, what are your thoughts on movements like Passport Bros? What if your son comes to you in a few years and says, "You know what, Mom, I'm going to Colombia to find me a girl." What What are your thoughts on that? How would that make you feel?
I mean, I wouldn't be offended because my mom is from Belize, and so like going and getting, somebody from Central America and stuff like that, like I would understand.
What What about okay? What about a white woman or like a
Ooh,
Asian
no,
woman?
we're not
Like,
doing that. We're not doing
so
that.
that's where you draw the line. It's just just don't bring no white woman home. Interesting, but why? Why? Elaborate on that. Tell the truth.
You said tell the truth. We live like two different lives. Seriously, I got pulled over the other day, and I was upset about it. And I went online and went off, and this white woman got in the comments, and she's like, "I've never got in my car and had to worry about getting pulled over or what could happen when I get pulled over." And so I really feel, and this is like people are like, love who you love, but a certain part of love is being able to relate, being able to have somebody that could be like, babe, I get it. Like I understand the struggle. And I just don't think that men often pick that side for the right reason. I feel like they pick it more for acceptance or for the access that it could possibly bring to have that woman in their life. And so, no. And then I always think about like, I worked in the court office. I was a court clerk, and there was a black and white couple, okay, and the white woman, he had left her and she was upset, and this is during recess, so she didn't know I still had the recorder on, and she was like, "You left me, you black son of a bee. I'm gonna tell them that you raped me, and because I'm white, they're going to believe me." And she said that during the recess. And so I not trying to say all of them think like that, but I mean, like, let's be real. They know their privilege. And the worst thing in the world is a scorned woman. She
Right.
she was serious. And so I just played the recording back.
So, I have a daughter,
I know.
If my daughter was to bring home somebody who didn't look like me, I would feel like a failure. No, straight up and down. If my daughter was to bring home a white man or an Asian man, I would genuinely feel like a failure.
Oh,
I would feel like I didn't set a admirable enough paradigm
hmm,
for her to want to go seek out,
somebody that looked like.
daddy or somebody. Yeah, exactly. So like, do you think that black mothers, and this is kind of a two-part question.
Okay, all right. Let me
Do you
listen.
think black mothers should feel some sense of failure
Yeah.
that so many black men, so many successful black men are taking their business elsewhere? And I guess the second part of that question is, you know, everybody thinks they're a good parent.
Hmm.
How should we as a community evaluate motherhood, fatherhood, and like what outcomes would let you know that okay, so and so was a good father, so and so was a good mother? Because I just told you, like if my daughter didn't seek out a black man, I would feel like I failed as a father.
Right.
But it doesn't seem like women take it that same way. So like, do you feel like that's a fair thing to grade based on, and or what other things should we grade ourselves based on?
I do think that I would feel like a failure if Elijah didn't pick somebody, a black person. I would be like, or I mean, you know, Central America or something like that. I would feel some type of way. I would feel like, well, what did I do wrong? Like, why is that not attractive to you? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the problem? Um, but what was your second part? Your other part of your question was
How,
really
how should we how should we grade parents?
well. I check. Is I
More
mm,
okay, start with how should we grade mothers? Because you're a mother, you know what I mean? So
I would just ask my kid. I wouldn't even ask me. Don't ask me. Ask my kid. Ask my kid. Look at my kid, and then you can see. Or I mean, I look at it, just ask him. He'll tell you the truth. Like I don't know, I raised him different. Like he'll be like, he'll tell the truth. Embarrassingly
but
enough, he would be honest.
what's the cutoff? And what I mean by that, so one of the things I've been talking about recently is the covertness of mommy issues.
What?
I think we mommy issues.
Oh, men have mommy issues. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, no, not just men, women as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I think we spend entirely too much time talking about daddy issues. But one of the foundationary mommy issues that a lot of people don't even articulate, but it exists, is resenting the mother for even choosing the father, right?
I
Because a
didn't,
lot of mothers say that again.
I didn't know that was a such thing. I didn't know
Oh
people.
yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of mothers, and this is true in my case as well. Like a lot of mothers position themselves as these moral authorities of, if I was you, I would so and so. But like when you
Mm,
actually look at their life and look at the decisions that they made, it's not consistent with who they position themselves to be. So they'll say, "Oh, you need to make better decisions in men." Like if they're talking to their daughter, you need to make better decisions in men, but spend 80% of their time complaining about the father,
yeah.
and that's if he's there. Not let alone if he's not there. So like somewhere deep in that little girl or little boy's subconscious, it's like you probably weren't shit either because you couldn't attract the caliber of man that you claim you deserve, right? So for me, I think it starts with, and this goes for men and women. It starts with what caliber of person did you join DNA with to create me,
Hmm.
and then how does your life line up with the advice that you're giving me? The whole "do as I say, not as I do" thing.
This doesn't
But
work.
I don't think a lot of parents do that. I think they spend more time just talking about all the ways that they were taken advantage of or victimized, but not necessarily the ways that they participated in that.
Mhm.
So for the mothers
Right.
who are watching, how would you, I guess, encourage them or advise them on how to be more consistent with the critiques and the ways that they claim that they're raising their boys and their girls?
Um, it's
Take
so
your
hard to
time, no
talk to.
rush.
No, no, I'm just saying it's so hard to talk to other people because again, it's kind of like people are not accountable, for them, and like you said, people like to victimize the situation. So to talk to the people, they have to be ready to be real. You know what I'm saying? Just be real. I always tell this story. Like I had Elijah, and he's about 5 years old, and he just starts lying. Okay, he lied. He's just lying for no reason. Like he he would steal stuff out of the cabinet, y'all, and then I would be like, "Did you just take that out of the cabinet?" And he'd be like, "No, I didn't." You know what I'm saying? It's still behind his back. Okay, this is 5. And I remember sitting in the car. I had beat him a couple times, and I'm like, "This is not working. Like just whooping this kid is just not working." And it's like, "Don't do that because blah blah." And I just felt like I was talking to a brick wall. So I'm sitting in the car one day and I'm like, you know what? I used to lie too. You know what I'm saying? Like I used to lie too. And I used to lie so good that I started to believe my own lies, right? And I was like, so could this be like a little generational thing? Because his dad was a liar too. Like I told you, he had lived 2 different lives, right? So I'm like, dang. So if I could be like the normal typical mom and be like, your dad was a liar, you don't need to be like your father. Or I could be like, look, Elijah, when I was around your age, I'm sorry, I started lying. Like I got away with it. And then when I got older, I lied and I went to jail. And that's what the consequence was eventually, of that. I was like, so every time you think about lying, think about ultimately possibly going to jail and or getting in trouble significantly. But I was like, but you're going to have to fight that urge because you're not just getting it from me, you know what I'm saying? Whatever is in my DNA that I had not, healed from, but you're also getting it from your father. And so it's going to be something that you're probably going to struggle with and so you're going to have to choose to not do what we did because you see your dad's life and then you see what I had to go through to get to this point. What do you want to do? And that's what
Yeah,
I
I
mean.
think that's. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And
I
then
didn't
that's
mean to
how,
cut you
that's
off.
how I approached that situation with him. And I really, he hasn't lied since. And I had to whoop him. I don't even have to whoop my kid. I mean, like it used to be once every 6 months until we. Sorry, but he was just, like until he had moments. He had moments
Yeah.
where like the testosterone would kick in, and I'd be like, okay, no, well, who was you talking to like that? But like, not. He just, I just kept it real with my problems. I kept it real with things that I had struggled with as a kid that I couldn't tell my parents about because they made it seem like they didn't have those problems. Then you grow up and find out that they did, and you're like, okay, so you just hid them from us. Like you didn't. How did you get over it? You know, my mom. I'll give you an example. I had got my feelings hurt. You know what I'm saying? You get your heart broke. And what I noticed that I would do is I'd work. Like my heart be broke, I would work. Like I could produce what in pain. And so one day I was like, but I'm not processing the pain. Does that make sense? Like I'm just working. The work is perfect. Like I'm getting yielding results. I'm making money, but like I have not processed like what I've been through, right? And so I sat down on the table and I was like, Mom, what did you do, when you got your feelings hurt or you got your heart broke? She's like, I'd work. And I was like, ain't that crazy? I was like, what did that do for you? And she was like, I don't, I don't know. I was like, did you ever process anything that you've ever been through? And she was like, I was like, I yeah. And she said she couldn't answer. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I don't want that. I don't want that. I want to be able to be like, I was hurt. That hurt me. This is why it hurt me. And this is what I'm gonna do moving forward. You know what I'm saying? When that type of hurt comes. Does that make sense? But
Right.
it was that realization that I was by my influence doing exactly what my mom did when she would have pain. Work. and I didn't know.
Do you think a lot of women are like that?
Yeah, you see all these women out here being bosses. They're only bosses because somebody didn't hurt their feelings and they had to find something to do. so,
Mm,
so, so, and they're like, I don't want to get my feelings hurt no more, so I don't want to date or anything like that. And so they boss up or whatever. But if it was up to us, we probably wouldn't boss up. We would just really like to be in our role, which is to help me. But women are not going to say that because they don't want to say, that I birthed my business out of pain. I birthed mine out of pain. Sure did.
yeah. So before we move on to the comment section, so
I
you
bet you they've
can
been talking real mess,
respond.
huh? What they've been saying.
It's some good things too, though.
Oh,
But I'm gonna give you an opportunity if there are any questions that you have about men that maybe I can answer.
well,
I'm gonna give you the
I have a question.
opportunity.
Like,
Sure.
so in one of the comments, the person was like, um, she abused her kids by dumping her emotional trauma onto her child or something crazy like that. And I was trying to figure out how telling my son the truth about who I was before I had him, dumping my emotional trauma on my child
Um.
or abusing him. They said I was an abuser, a child abuser for doing that.
No. Well, I haven't seen that comment. I think what they might be sensitive to generally is, and I think I mentioned it during the interview, the concept of son husbands.
Okay.
But basically, a lot of mothers, it's not limited to single mothers, but particularly single mothers, they expect a level of emotional labor that is usually expected from a husband or a boyfriend. They expect it from their son, right? So I think maybe what they were responding to was maybe the fear that you might be another woman who's doing that to a boy, as opposed to the reality that you are, because they don't know you, right?
Right.
They only can go off of what is said during the interview. But I think it is something that happens very often, and I don't think we talk about enough.
Right. So
And to be fair, I don't think women do it deliberately either. I don't think y'all do it on purpose.
explain that to me though. Like, explain the you say emotional. Explain that to me because I'm not understanding. Maybe because I just don't do it, so I'm trying to understand it. Does that make sense? Like giving the child the emotional responsibility for
Of a
me.
man.
Yeah, like I don't because I don't.
So
You want me to be honest? I don't even give the man the emotional responsibility for me. So I'm trying to figure out what does that even look like because maybe I need to. So I'm just trying.
I mean, I think, so when I think of emotional responsibility, I think of the catharsis that, you usually would come home and maybe tell your man how your day was. So and so did this. But instead, if, in a situation when a woman doesn't have a man, she does that with her son. So now instead of him doing his homework, playing video games, whatever he would normally be doing, for that 10, 20-minute span, he's your boyfriend for all intents and purposes, right? Or you have situations, even in the boy's adulthood, like you'll see the memes or the little videos where a guy is picking up his mom and she wants to sit in the front while the girlfriend's in the car. Like that type of stuff where like she won't allow the son prioritize any other woman above him because he's been her husband for as long as she or he can remember. And
Right.
and even the son doesn't know how to prioritize another woman above his mom. And that leads to the mama's boys and things like that on the low end. But you also have some situations where like some women and their sons are sexually involved as well. Like it goes, yeah, it's crazy shit, but it happens.
That's why I stay at my house. Like I don't know what I don't know what y'all
Yeah.
be doing out here in these streets. No, yeah, no. So no, I don't. Like I don't tell him how my day was. He don't even ask.
Mm.
I
Mm.
mean, like he don't. We don't have that. He don't ask me that. I think it's his business. I mean, unless like it's something tragic and it's going to affect him or something like that, then I have to tell him.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
something with my mom or something like that. That's where it's going to affect him in the long run. But no,
Mm.
I ask him how his day is because I think I'm supposed to. I'm supposed to be like, hey, did you have a good day today? What was school
Mm.
like? You know what I'm saying? How did
Yeah.
it go? But other than that, like no, he does his homework and plays the video games and minds his business. And when he does talk to me too much, I'll be concerned. Like why are you talking to me so much? Like
Mm.
so he has his space.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Do you observe it happening though? Like now that you're aware of it, do you see generally in our community how some boys, for instance, are put in that situation prematurely with their mothers?
I see it in other communities too. Yeah, I see it.
Mm.
I seen it this weekend too. So yeah.
You said this weekend. What happened?
He had a band competition and like we had moms and parents and stuff like that. And I did see, certain situations where I like, oh, okay, that mom, okay, it's emotional thing there. But there's two parents in the household. I think that she just probably just has, what she thinks is a friendship with her kid is just a little bit, she's codependent. You know what I'm saying? Just really
Right,
codependent.
right. That's a good word. That's a
Yeah.
good word.
Very codependent. Yeah.
All right, so I've got the super chat from Angel. Shout out to you, brother. He says, "Don't forget, Jesus was crucified for his morals. Men stay quiet because they get attacked on them instead of listening to.
Hmm.
How do you plan on teaching others to exercise their responsibility to listen?" So I'm assuming he means like, how do you plan on helping women better listen to men?
That's hard. Listen, I'm still trying to get that right sometimes, depending on what level of mad you have made me. Uh, I don't hear you. You know what I'm saying? I think that we definitely will have to have like teaching moments and classes for women because it is going to be a learning experience because even women don't listen to women sometimes. And that's just, I mean, we probably really are some stubborn creatures, to be honest. Like now that I'm sitting here looking at that, how do we exercise the responsibility to listen? Put her in timeout. Just put her in timeout. Because when you ignore a woman, if that's one thing that will hurt her heart and make her listen, is ignoring her. That'll hurt her feelings. And then she'll be receptive to hear what you got to say. Yep. But as far as women holding women responsible, that's just something we're gonna have to do. I think when I see like women empowerment and these little movement thingies as are going on, it's not teaching women how to be uh receptive to men and to listen to men. So we'd have to change the whole narrative that's been pushed for, a decade or so. Women are loose and stuff like that. And I will say that the church has had its involvement in making women feel like they never are wrong.
Explain, elaborate on that.
By creating these conferences and these things, they have played on women's victimization of themselves and not taking responsibility for the men that they choose. And so then they haven't given men an avenue to express certain things that you guys do that are part of your nature that you have been told that was okay as you were younger, but then you're doing it older and nobody's willing to accept it. So these people are getting this type of treatment here and push here, and a lot of times pastors want women to serve them rather than serve their husband, right? Or just he will it's like little times, and so he actually panders to who shows up and who pays tithes. And so he's not teaching women to be women and future wives to anybody. He's teaching them how to be a wife to him, how to be subservient to him. I don't like you. Have you ever heard of Miles Monroe? Miles, yeah, like yeah, he would send women home. and be like, don't come here until your your husband shows up. Like,
Mm,
don't, right? And then the husband would show up trying to figure out who is this pastor that sent her home to actually be my wife. He knew what he was doing, because men know men. And a lot of times, to me, men don't trust pastors because you have yet to check her on her wifely duties, because her wifely duties are now benefiting you.
mm, that's true.
Yeah, and we don't want to go to church. Well, I want to go listen to you for. But if you look at Miles
Mm,
Monroe's his following, it was a lot of men, and it was because he would send those women home. Go home
right,
and do
right.
right by your husband. Mm-hmm.
That's real. That's
Yep.
real. Let me get some of the other super chat. Shout out to the Condemn. Appreciate you, brother. $50 super chat. He says, late, but we in here. What's the word, sir? Appreciate you, my brother. We're just talking to Miss Jamie, just recapping her thoughts on her appearance on the channel. Mr. Deontay, yeah, Deontay. Shout out to you, brother. He says, thank you, sister, for sharing your thoughts. I believe the desire for traditional structures aren't for us in this age, especially the desire for black men to be leaders of their female peers.
Why?
So
Why
he's
do you think
saying
that?
there's no desire for male leaders. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree?
I I don't even know. I don't know what women think. I don't even talk to them that much because they irritate me. I don't know.
But you, but you're a woman. How don't you like women and you're a woman?
Because I want a black man as a leader. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell other men about these people out here in these streets. I I don't have a lot of I told somebody the other day on a podcast. Majority of
Mm,
my black female friends are married. All of them. All of them are married. I don't have single black friends. So I don't they desire to have a black man as a leader, and he's a good one. They're happy. So the
okay.
single women in these streets that you guys deal with, I don't know their thought process. I don't know why you wouldn't want to have a black man as a leader unless you have been led into ditches several times by grown boys. You know what I'm saying? And you're damaged, and now you don't want a leadership. But I think innately a woman wants to be led. I just think it's innate. Like I think
Mm,
that is something that we do want. I just don't believe that, there's a lot of options, to be honest. Do you feel like you're honest when he's an option? Deontay, is that how you say your name? You think that you're an
yeah.
option, like a good leader? What makes you that, though? Do we,
Well, I
do we
mean, I think that's a good question for women. Like, what? Because I hear a lot of women say we are good, but part of the reason we're single is because there are not enough good black men to go around. So, what would you consider a good black man?
That is a good question. That's a good question. I would consider somebody a good person, or first of all, I don't think anybody's good. We all got things that we think about that are evil. So I'll just keep it like that. Um, but a person willing to lead and change and that is effective is one that lives the same life behind closed doors as they do for the public. So I would say that is what I look for in a person is, do you live the same life that you portray to live um, in public as you do in private? And how willing are you to be accountable, held accountable, to change if necessary? Um, just character. It's a level of character that people don't have anymore, that to me would make you a good leader. Like for me, I always think like Malcolm X was good, is a good example of what change looks like. He went from, thief, hoe, all of that, to devoutly, you know, disciplined. He was a disciplined man. And then when he did make an error, he would go and correct it. And so I think like that's what I would look for in a leader. um Other women may have a different, thing. Like they may say, oh, I need money, I need this and that. I feel like all of that would come um naturally to that person if they have good character.
Wait. So are you saying that
I would rather have
women
I would rather
women who are go ahead, finish your
I
point.
would say I would rather have a broke person with good character than somebody with money and shady. And that's real. Like I would rather be with a broke man at this with good character, where I know like what he says is what he said and how he's living is how I would rather that person than a man with money that is a liar or I can't trust or shady. I would. And to me, that person with good character is a leader, because it's hard to be disciplined in this day and age. Just like it is hard to be disciplined. It's easy to play a role.
For the people who haven't found what they're looking for, would you think we should be concerned or skeptical about them?
Oh,
So,
but
for instance, the women who are saying that the problem is that there are not enough good men, and a lot of men are saying that part of the reason is because those quote unquote good men are either not attracted to you or you're not attracted to them. How do you like? What are your thoughts on that conversation?
you mean like should we take a woman and what she says into consideration if she's single? Is that
No,
type of question, or like what do you mean?
for instance, you'll hear. Matter of fact, perfect example is a clip that went viral recently of Ayanla talking to some lady named Ebony.
Okay.
And Ayala asked her, "Would you date a bus driver?" And the lady said, "If she owns, or if he owns the bus." And Ayala's response was, "Well, if he loves what he does, if he's
Hmm.
honest, if he has integrity, all that good stuff." So a lot of men think that the problem isn't that there are not enough good men to go around, but the problem is that women's priority lists are upside down.
Hmm.
Like before a lot of women get to some of the principal things that are going to sustain like his character and stuff like that, we see a lot of women prioritize other things like how entertaining is he,
Hmm.
or how handsome is he, or how
Financial.
charismatic is he, and
Hmm.
exactly. And then those tend to be the women that you see who are saying they're not enough good men because, like I said, either they're not attracted to good men or they're not attractive to good men.
Right. Do I agree with that, or what do I
I
say?
mean, yeah, what do you say to it? Like, what's should men be skeptical of a woman who is, who
Same.
claims to want a good man but hasn't been able to find one for a long time?
Oh yeah, definitely. Her standards are really, really probably too high, and she's really probably not looking for a good man. If you want me to be honest, she's probably looking for a sugar daddy, or so, someone to take care of her. And I mean, like that's okay. That's what she wants, but she has to be honest, because you can find that. You can find that, but you need to keep it at that. You get what I'm saying? Like you can say it's nothing wrong with a woman that says she wants to be taken care of by a rich man and not work. That it's nothing wrong with that, but you need to find that. You don't need to say that there's no good men when you know what I'm
How
saying.
how 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 would you make that distinction? Like, how would you differentiate the woman who's single because she's either not attracted or attractive to good men,
Hmm.
and the woman who is single because she's genuinely having a hard time?
That's hard. I mean, that's hard. You just have to sit down and talk to her and see, like, has she done the work? The question is, has that person done the work? Because a good man could be considered a good man, but he hasn't done the work either. So when you get to that interdependent, or what do you call that? What do you call intimacy part of the situation? He can't handle that. He may be a good man at being a provider, a leader, have integrity, but he may not be good at being vulnerable. And that may be what
Does
she was.
that does but does that disqualify his good traits?
In some instances, it has. You know what I'm saying? I've seen it. I mean, in some instances, it has, because that's what she actually wants. When she gets down to the nitty gritty and she gets out of all of the lists of things that she wants, and he's providing this whole list. Remember, I had a friend. He was like, I didn't provide her everything she asked for, but he did not provide the intimacy, and she left. When really she could have said, "That's what I want." And that's where it gets confusing for y'all, because it got confusing for me. I sat around the table and I was like, "Just you, I would leave you too." I get it. I understood it. I would leave you too.
Okay, so with that being said, what advice? Because again, you're a woman, so the advice I give men is completely different. With that being said, what advice would you give men?
About women?
Yeah, in the sense where like you can do 10 things right, but if you do one thing wrong, it's dead. What? How would you help us better understand that? Because you also said like I would have left him too.
No, I would have left her. I told him to leave her.
Oh, okay, got you, got you,
Yeah,
got you,
yeah,
got
no,
you.
no, no. I told him to leave her. Like I would, yeah. No, I didn't agree with what she did to him, because I understood he really was doing all of the stuff that she asked for consistently. You know what I'm saying? So I even
Except
asked
that
her, I
one
said,
thing.
yeah, I was like, well, what's the problem? I was like, that could eventually happen if you're are you being open? Like, are you expecting him to leave that? And so, like I told you, I'm gonna be as honest as I can. There's some women that I don't understand. I don't understand, and I don't feel like the things that society has pushed, like the Housewives and all of these shows and all of these things, have helped anybody, even in my age range, on their thought process. And so, really, as people dating and looking for people, we need to look for people who are on that same journey, as far as growing and healing and doing that. If you don't really meet somebody that's willing to do the work, you're wasting your time at this point. And it's very far and few in between that's really, well, like, ready to do the work. Because a relationship, at the end of the day, is work. It is work.
Right. So Deontay also says, he says, peers, meaning equals, we have to rethink dating dynamics and black equality. Our relationships need to relate to our economic standing. I think what he's trying to convey is kind of like the change in power dynamics with black men and black women now that black women are making just as much, if not more in some cases,
Hmm.
than the men that are available to them.
Right.
How do we, because, most women will not date a man who's shorter, who makes less money, who has a lower social status than them. Do you think that women need to reformat how they approach dating in our community?
Yeah.
Or do you feel like men just need to do better?
No, I think women need to reformat. Like, I feel like I'm gonna say we, because I don't want to just always exclude myself, but like, we have been out of touch with reality. I think that at one, I think because we were not trained to be wives or to have a standard, a lot of women have given themselves or given time to the wrong individual, right? Which created broken women. Like, oh, I did this for him. I dated a broke guy. He did me wrong, right? Because we didn't have clear standards on what we were going to accept and what we weren't going to. Therefore, we walk around damaged. And so, we do need to reform the way we approach dating, the way we approach men, and then just stick to that, and leave the desperation out of it, and just move forward. If he doesn't want, like, who likes you at this point? Like, all that chasing and all of that, just like who likes you. It is really that simple. Like who likes you, invest who invests in you, and guess what? You might end up being happy. You just might end up being happy. You might get your feet rubbed. You know what I'm saying? You might get that dinner cooked when you least it. You, like, when you come home, and you don't have to ask for nothing. Because if you like who likes you, they're going to serve you. And service is love. It's really that simple. But we make it hard because we want to always chase some stuff, somebody, I almost said some shit, that don't want us. We try to
So
put.
so talk to the women. When did that change for you? And how did that change for you?
I mean, I thought I always liked who liked me. Like, I never really, I never, I just didn't want commitment, to be honest. So like me being single now was really my fault, because I could have already been, married and happy and with kids. It was just I didn't want that. So what would I tell women? Reform the way you think. Stop looking for men that's chasing you or playing games, and then just be direct and what you want. And if that person doesn't want that, move on. That's the only thing we can do.
Well, let's pause for a minute. You said you didn't want commitment.
Mm-mm.
Explain.
No,
That's
remember I told you I grew up where I seen people like almost dysfunctionally not happy. Like they looked happy, but they weren't really happy. And I just didn't
mm,
want. I didn't want that. Plus, my mom, she didn't. She did like foster care, and then we had like a large family daycare. So we just always had kids around and stuff like that. And I felt like I was like a nanny. Like I was always caring for people at a young age, and I never really had that moment to just kind of like be without having to be concerned about anybody. So when I said when I grow up, I don't want to be responsible for nobody's feelings or what
mm.
goes on with them. I don't want to do it, because I had just always had to like.
Is that still the case, or has that changed for you?
Oh no, that's changed. I mean, like, of course I changed because I had my son, and then I was like, it's my nature
Mm,
to care about people. Like even if I didn't want to, it is my nature. Like I always tell people I have like this the nanny complex.
mm-hmm.
Where like kids walk up to you and be like, "Hey," and I'm like, "I don't know you," you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And they're
So
like,
okay, so in that case, since you've changed your mind, what do you think is the biggest hurdle now to getting to the commitment in the long term
"Trust,
relationship thing?
trust." It's trusting myself, really, to trust that individual. It's trusting. Like I've always had commitment problems. Like even when I bought my house, I had to have the people uh that how you sign the papers come to my job, because that was comfortable for me. I made them come to my job so I could sign the papers, or I wasn't gonna go. When I had bought my car, I was like, I'm not sure. I'm not gonna come to the car dealership. And so they brought the car to me and brought the contract, and then I signed it at the job. So it just I'm being honest, like it was that long, like, oh, I can't. Once I sign this contract, this is it for me. Like,
Yeah.
and I also know this, like once I'm committed to something, whether I like it or not, I'm going all the way through. And so to say that with somebody that's big. Like who I choose as my partner can change the trajectory of my life. And I don't want to be
Do you,
miserable.
do you feel like a lot of women share that same disposition? Like they're just afraid to take that leap?
Yeah, I mean it's a scary thing. Like we can be in long term relationships all day long, but we know that there's an escape route. And I'm gonna be honest. I think that a lot of women pick nothing men because we know what the end result is going to be. We know that it might not work, and we don't have to be responsible for that situation. In our innate thing is like we are scared to commit to somebody. We are scared to love fully and give that person responsibility over, us, because a heartbreak is hard in real life, and even though we know like this person's hurting us and stuff like that, we're still in control of that situation because we haven't fully given that person ourselves.
That's real. So Deontay, shout out to you, brother, with $20 super chat. He also goes on to say, please excuse me, I think sisters want leaders. I believe it's very hard for the average guys to be leaders of women that are very close to being their economic and educational equals. Have you found that to be a difficulty in the past? Maybe a guy you made more money than, and you were more educated than. Has it been a problem? And then how did you navigate that?
I think it is a problem, and I try not to make it a problem when I was in that type of situation. Like I could give you, for instance, like there was times where I probably wanted to do something, but I knew it was not, financially feasible. So it's just a compromise, and then not to make the you don't make the person feel bad because there's certain circumstance, because that's their circumstance for right now. Does that make sense? What I had seen women do was date somebody that did not make as much as them, but then cuss them out because they couldn't do anything. And that didn't make no sense. Like, you already knew he was broke when you met him. You know what I'm saying? So why make him feel bad for being broke when you already knew? Does that make sense? Like, it just,
Right.
why would you do that? Um, so, I tried to compensate for the situation. Or like, even I think one time, I had listened to this man. He was like, never give a man money, right? Because that makes him feel some type of way. So what
It's
I did,
emasculating.
yeah, it's emasculating, right? So I was like, oh, okay, well, that okay, all right. So I know that he has a need, and I have a need over here, and he actually does this. Like, he's able to do this. So I kind of made a job, and I was like, hey, can you do this? If you can do this, then I'll just pay you, and that's how that went. So that's the way. I mean, I don't think he knew what I was doing when I did it, but that's what I was. That's what I did.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Shout out to E Black TV. He says, "Are stable single moms actively looking to find a good man? I find they want to wait until the child is grown, thus they find themselves in unbalanced relationships." How would you respond?
Um, are single moms actively looking? There are some that are actively looking. I mean, I know that there's some that with young kids that are actively looking for. Okay, but he said good man, and so I'm just gonna say a man. I wouldn't say necessarily good.
Okay.
I would just say a man. I know that there's single moms actively looking for a man. You know what I'm saying? Good. I don't think that some of the single moms have yet to even sit down and be like, this relationship ended because of this. This didn't work for me. They haven't done any of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they probably haven't done any work to find out why they are a single mom. And so they're just looking for a man. I find they wait. And so when he says they want to wait until the child is grown, what really happens is the child grows and then they grow too. And now they finally have an ideal of what type of man they want to be with. And so it may look like what he's saying, but um, what has happened is they were single mom, probably young. After their dad didn't work out, they were looking for a man, not a good man, just a man. Have been damaged, hurt, went through whatever, and then the kid is grown, getting ready to graduate or has already graduated. Now they're lonely. Now they have time to self reflect, and now they know what type of good man they want for themselves.
Well,
That's
I think this is a good opportunity. I mean, there are 102 people watching. Are you looking for a good man currently?
no.
So elaborate on that, because
No,
it almost like goes against what we're talking about.
well, because so the Bible, I kind of go by that, and it says in the Word that a man who finds a wife finds a good thing. What I have been working on is ensuring that I would be a good wife and favor to a man that is looking for a wife. Now, I'm not looking to find anything because he's going to find me in the correct time, but my job right now. Are you actively dating currently? No, I'm not actively dating currently. I don't got time. I work a lot, not because I want to, but just because I had put myself in this perpetual circle of working, and I'm trying to get out of it. But no, I'm not actively dating.
So what's the plan?
What?
What's the plan? Like how is this supposed to, happen for you?
I mean, eventually I'll be able to date. I just haven't, like, I don't like DMs because I feel like that is just so not personable enough. I feel like you haven't done enough research on me. I need to know you are kind of like you will run a background check on me. I need to know that. Like, I need because this the world is different. You know what I'm saying? I could be a whole man in these streets right now. I'm just saying. So I just need to
Okay,
feel.
so ideally in your mind, how does this thing play out?
I don't have a idea.
No, no, but you have to have like an ideal. Like, okay, so right now I'm working on becoming a wife or
Mhm,
becoming the type of woman that a man would seek. All
mhm.
right, so where is that man going to seek you and find you? Is he
Oh,
gonna find you
what
at
I'm doing.
home, at the job?
Oh no, like at my community event, I work for myself, so I work different jobs. So I do community events. I do community activism, anyways. And then like I'm a stylist. You know what I'm saying? He could book an appointment. I've had that happen. Um, they have booked an appointment. I sell products. You know, I there's plenty of places. I am a virtual assistant. You know what I'm saying? So I work for just saying.
Shout out to Courtney Michelle. She said, "Faith without
Now work is
works
dead. Take them. I do
is
take them. I don't
dead."
want them though. My number out there. If they want, then listen. Me and God knows if they right, it's they gonna hit. I got a standard. This is where the church fails us. Yeah, I don't want the demons. I'm good. I just don't. I don't. I'll never. I actually nice to him. I'm like, hey, you might not want to do that because I could be Satan's daughter. Like sometimes y'all don't know what type of women you be hitting on. They're crazy, and you have to be able. What? I'm for real. I want you to show
I'm
up to
listening.
my events, and I want you to see me interact with other people. You gotta do research on a woman. Don't just date anybody because they look appealing. That's crazy. That doesn't make no sense. Do not hit my DMs up. You're not gonna get a response. I'll just look and smile. That's cute. Thanks. That's all you're gonna get from me. Because I've had people book an appointment. Because I do men. I do men's hair. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Afro Disciple with the 4.99 super chat. He says, "Can we be honest? A lot of women don't have a reference of what a good relationship looks like, so they operate off of fantasy, not facts." Do you have a response for that?
I think that's true because again, people don't think that arguing is normal. They don't think that a man coming home and not wanting to talk to them is normal. They don't think that. Like, and to be honest, like sometimes you don't want to talk to them either. Like, but a woman is expecting you to just be smiling at them all the time, and that's real unrealistic. I think we all have unrealistic expectations for one another. You know what I'm saying? Like I was on a podcast the other day and I was like, the Bible says don't deprive me from having sex. When I get married, don't deprive me. But I mean, is that realistic? Probably not. But in my mind right now it is. You know what I'm saying? So me and whoever I marry, we're gonna have to talk about it because I don't want to be deprived. He said, are we fasting? Because if we're not fasting, I'm not getting some. Does that make sense? You're not gonna do me
It
like
may
that. I'm not one of them women who withhold anything. Like we could be mad, and I would still be like, "All right, well, we could do it," but then I'm still mad at you afterwards, and that's it.
I guess I'm still stuck on the refusing to check the DMs thing. Like, make that make sense for me, because I don't think it makes sense. If I'm being honest with you, Jamie.
I know,
So
but I just
help
don't
me
want
understand it.
to. I don't want to. I don't want a DM. I don't want it. I just don't. I don't want you to hit me with the what you doing. Hey, beautiful. I don't want none of that. I just don't. I don't feel like it's genuine because I know men that do it just to 10 women at the same time. I don't want it. Like I want something different. Like I know exactly what I want and I know I'm gonna get it because I have people do it. But I don't want that. I
So
want
if Michael B. Jordan DMs you, you're not gonna respond.
no, I'm not interested in him. It'd be because I don't. He doesn't fit my standard. That's not the man that I want.
Idris Elba, I don't know, the some preacher who's handsome DMs you, you wouldn't respond.
It's happened. I don't.
Honestly, if I'm being honest with you, I think it's silly. I really, I really think it's silly, particularly to simultaneously say there are not enough men out here,
I didn't say
and
there
then
wasn't. I didn't say that there wasn't. I didn't ever say that. That no, that's other women that said that. I didn't say there wasn't enough
okay,
men. I just said that I don't want to be approached in my DM. And that's just my request. And that should be fair. That's a personal request. My number is on my website. My number is on my business card. You can have my number, but you cannot hit me in my DM. I'm not going to respond. I'm just not. I responded
Listen,
to
you
a couple,
grown.
and then I just asked them a couple questions, and I was like, "You do this all the time?" And they're like, and I was like, I'm unimpressed. I'm unimpressed by that. I am. I'm sorry.
Okay. Listen, you grown. If you ask me for advice, I give it to you, but I ain't gonna just shove it down your throat.
You
I
said
think it's a
you said,
terrible idea.
you said check the DMs, and I mean, I'm
I
not.
think, but the reality is when I'm talking to men,
Hmm.
part of the reason that men are checking out, you're seeing men go overseas, you're seeing men go monk mode even. They're saying that for the payout that I could potentially get, the cost isn't worth it. It's not equivalent to the payout, right? Because women are simultaneously making things more difficult for men
Hmm.
while forcing men to expect less from them.
Yeah, but I don't do that though. So that I mean, like that, I don't care what any other woman does. I know what I do, and I just don't want I don't want a DM, and that's just a personal request. I don't want a DM.
Okay.
I'm just telling the truth. I don't want if I did what every other woman does, which is play games with men, and I don't have anything to offer in the situation, then fine. I would be like, okay, you know what? Maybe I need to check the DMs. But nah, I know my value. I'm sorry, I just cannot. I cannot. If I didn't have value, I wouldn't work for all of these men, and they wouldn't be happy. So I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm just
Listen,
saying,
like I
I'm not
said,
checking a DM. I'm not doing it. My number is on my
I
website.
I still think there's no difference with somebody call like a random person calling your number versus sending you a message. They're trying to get in
I don't even
contact
know
with you.
I don't know. Like I don't know what state of mind I am in right now. I'm just,
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. I think it's silly. I
yeah,
think it's silly. I
like I said,
think
I think I want. I think
it's
I want
creating
somebody.
it's creating unnecessary resistance. It's creating unnecessary hurdle. And I think that
I might take what
if
you're
it's
saying
a
into consideration. I might. Let
if
me.
it if it's a woman in high school or in her early 20s and she could live without it, that's one thing.
Hmm.
But like for somebody claiming to want something but making it difficult for that thing to find them or making
I
it
don't
more
think.
difficult.
I just don't think I would. I don't think it would be a DM situation. Like I said, I have enough events and stuff like that for that person to meet me there in person.
What do Christians like to say? If you want to make God laugh,
Hmm?
you know the rest. Go ahead.
No,
What's
I
the
don't
rest?
know. I don't know that saying.
If
What is
if you
it?
want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. That's the saying.
Yeah, I mean, but it might be the plan. That might be a DM. He might have to correct me, but you got to let God correct me, okay? Because He will. Trust me, like for real. I
This
might.
might be it. This
Yeah,
might be it. Me and everybody in the chat saying this is silly. This might be your correction. You know what I'm saying? He might have sent us. He works through people, right? All
right.
right. All right.
I'm gonna have to look at this chat. Like, put one up. What do they tell me? What one person said? Let me see.
Okay, let's see. Let's see.
Okay, what's the
Leon too. He
don't wait?
says, "Don't wait till
You
you."
don't get oh.
Um.
All right, look.
Let
Let me
me
ask you a question.
see.
What's
Okay.
appropriate DM language? How's he supposed to approach you when he hits your DMs? Then help me understand that.
Well, for me, I think it's about finding like mutual interest. So
Okay.
if a dude, because I tried to do a series called Down in the DMs where a girl showed me her DMs and dudes
Mm-hmm.
were sending her dick pics and nudes and videos and all kinds of shit. Versus the dudes who were like, "Hey, how you doing? I saw this thing.
Mm-hmm.
What's that song? What's that restaurant? Whatever the case may be." So we can find some mutual interest. Now, if you're just automatically turning that away, I don't think that's smart at
No,
all.
no. I don't think I got any. No, I did. No. Okay. All right. All right. Okay.
It is what it is.
Let's see. So we got some new channel members. Shout out to Leon the Second, and shout out to E Black TV. Double round of applause. Appreciate Mr. E Black. He actually gifted some channel membership. So welcome everybody. And E Black, man, I'm expecting to see you in Atlanta on the 24th, man. I expect you in attendance. Let's see. Let's let's look at these comments. How about that?
Oh God. Okay, look, they about to be
All
on.
right. Let's go. Let's
Let's go.
go. Okay, let me do this so it's a little bigger. Do you remember any comments that jumped out to you before we start going down the list?
Oh, you talking
Oh
about back
Lord.
then? No, I don't remember any comments. To be honest, I done been on a few other podcasts since then,
Okay.
so I haven't. I don't remember. Let's see.
All right, so Better Gent says, very interesting conversation. Seems like the reoccurring theme here is a lack of education regarding sex and reproduction. I think this is referring to when you talked about the generational
Hmm.
sex addiction.
I agree. I think I didn't get any education on sex before I had it. To be honest, like I had like the sex talk that I don't know. I didn't
Right.
have my parents didn't have a sex talk with me. I had sex education, at school, but like not. Mm-mm.
What do you think a proper sex talk is supposed to be, and how do you think it would have changed your outcomes?
I mean, I think keeping it just really real. I mean, I just would have liked to know everything really, like the whole the whole thing. I didn't get anything. I didn't get anything. Like the whole intimacy part, like what is it going to feel like none of that. I mean, just anything. All of it. What baby, how it is to be pregnant, what happens to your body when you get pregnant, all of that stuff. Like, but I would have preferred to have it from my mom more so than anybody because each woman is different. So, but her experience, I would be more closer to her experience because I am her child. You get what I'm saying? So, I would have preferred to, known any complications that she had, those type of things. I just knew that my grandma could have lots of babies because I think she had like 11 or 12 kids.
Damn.
Yeah, like
I remember you saying that.
yeah, like I know we were able to reproduce.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very.
So Leon too. He says she claims she is ready to be a wife, but her actions say
Is
otherwise.
my actions saying otherwise because I don't engage in the DMs? Is that what you mean by that? Like, because if you're saying that, then I understand where you're coming from. Like,
Well, I think I think generally because you did mention how you were afraid of commitment, and that was one of the things that was
before.
stopping you. Well, that's the thing. I think what people are sensing is like some residue of that. Like
Yeah,
there might be.
I'm still like, trusting. I'm not supposed to trust everybody, you know what I'm saying? So there is going to be a level of like, yeah, yeah, I don't want to sign the contract. I mean, maybe you might be right. I don't know.
But I've been talking about that a little bit of like women or some women, they don't want relationship, but they want relationship. Like they like
No,
the idea of it.
no, that's not it. I just don't, again,
Okay.
like, I feel like I don't want to sign a contract because, like, once I'm in, I'm in. Like, I just know me. Like, I'm not going to give up. Right. And then so I don't want to sign that contract and then be like with the person that gives up on everything. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I need the same type of energy. And it just, I haven't seen that yet. Like, if we're signing this contract, let's go.
So it's still like you kind of don't trust yourself
Yeah, I just
in a
said I don't
way.
trust myself in a way, like as far as picking somebody that I know for a fact is going to exude the same
Okay,
level.
well then let me ask that. Like, what do you need to see from yourself to
Yeah,
realize that you're to the point where you can make that
that informed
decision and,
decision.
and, and
Yeah,
exactly and pick the right type of dude?
I gotta clear this schedule. Let's for real. I gotta clear my
Okay.
schedule. I'm being real, like so I could like sit. You understand and be like, okay, boom. But I feel like sometimes I do lack of sleep, don't have time for myself, that it's hard for me to make an informed decision on somebody's character because I don't got time to think about it, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
So
So
what's your timeline?
to clear my schedule.
What to get this show on the road? Because I mean, it's gonna get harder the older you get. I'm just
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
just the
no, no.
reality.
I just, I came from that little thing and I shut everything off. I was like, I'm gonna clear my schedule, like for real. Like going into the next month, I was gonna work on that. I said that to
And
myself before getting on here, for real.
okay, so
And
what's the what I guess what window are you giving yourself? I'm giving myself 6 months to or a year to, or is it just in God's hands?
no, like to get married? 6 months to get married?
That no,
No,
not to
I
get
don't need
married,
that.
but
I
to
know that.
get on that path.
Oh, I give
Because
myself
you said that's what you want.
yeah, I give myself like 2 months or so.
To
Two
do
months
what? What's gonna happen in 2 months?
to clear my schedule, to make sure that I'm ready for the commitment to sign the paper and that I trust myself enough to make the right informed decisions. That's what I'm gonna do. I know what I'm gonna
And
do.
then you're gonna check your DMs.
And then I'm gonna check my DMs.
That's progress. That's progress. That's
I'm working.
progress. All right, let's get back to these comments. So, Mr. D says this is refreshing to see a woman that can hold a conversation with logic over feelings. All right, let's see if we can find something spicy.
Oh, you mean something where they would say something smart? Let's go down.
Hold up.
There was one that said, as a father, I'm terrified. Um, you
Let me
missed
see
it.
if I
You
can
need to go back
find it.
down. Yeah, because you can still be a good father and your daughter, just choose to be a hoe. I think that's what I think that's what he said.
I think he's speaking for me too. That's every man's fear.
Well,
What is going on with this window? Give me 1 second.
okay. Could it
But no,
be?
you can go ahead.
I was
Talk.
like, could it be that it's really not your fault? I just don't think that it's really the dad's fault. To
Elaborate. What do you mean?
or or maybe the dad was a player and this is the seed that he sowed, and so it just happens to be that the daughter, it becomes sneaky and does stuff. I don't know. There's so many avenues to that. I just told you, I just didn't want to be responsible for anybody. Like one, I that whole, sometimes you may make your kid too responsible too early on. They
What do you
got to
mean?
have some leeway. Like I didn't have any leeway initially. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't have too much leeway to do anything.
Yeah.
So when I hit a certain age, I was like, I'm gonna go do what I want.
So okay, so what's the balance there though?
You have to give them the opportunity to make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what I struggle with, this is that, but you still have to give that kid room to make the mistake and to yield a consequence from that. I just didn't have that. I was just like, no, you can't do it. I got no all the time. No, no, no.
So it was like a PK.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I got it back up. Hold on. Technology don't do what you want it to.
Leon the one that said that other thing? Is there more than one Leon?
No, I think it's the same Leon.
Oh.
All right, so yep. Nicolo, he says, as a father, this is terrifying. She came from a good home and chose the streets. He missed the part where you said your dad was a pimp.
He did. I was like,
So I guess the burning question is, what can fathers more specifically do to keep their daughters away from the streets?
give
Because I think the challenge for dads is like, if you're too good, she can gravitate towards the opposite.
mhm,
If you're too bad, she can gravitate right to that. So like,
mhm.
what advice would you give dads?
Give your daughters the game. I mean, like, give her the game. I think a lot of dads don't give the game.
What part?
All of it, like how you guys operate. I've seen some women have dads who gave them the game and they chose, they knew how to choose a good man. Like they knew what to do. They knew how to date, how to operate. But I think a lot of times, men don't give the game. I think that you want to be the hero to your princess, and you just don't give them the game. Give them the game. Give them the game. Just and that builds a closer relationship. So she come home and be like, Dad, you know that guy that I was told you about at school? You were right. He wasn't. He was exactly what you said. You give them the game. And treat it like case studies, like you do with your thing. It's so easy. I mean, we find that fun. We find that fun. It would it'd be a relatable thing that you could do with your child, but also a teaching point.
Right.
And she won't get played. You don't have to worry about that. And if she still decides to do that, then you need to figure out, you know, was it on her mama's side or like what was she?
Was it on the other side of the genes?
Yeah.
All right, so MP says this is why you don't feel sorry for them, fellas. It's always a jump off point where they choose the wrong path.
Hmm.
Feeling sorry for them will literally ruin your life. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I feel like if you don't feel sorry for us, then women shouldn't feel sorry for y'all, and y'all got trauma too. I mean, some men are damaged from being heartbroken in the seventh grade. Like y'all got dumped in the seventh grade, and every woman since the seventh grade has been the worst woman ever. So I mean, like if you don't have grace for us, then we should have grace for you. I mean, it's just a logical thing. I think a lot of times though is that you see that this hoe is a hoe, like it's a trend for her. She is a grown hoe too, and then you want to extend grace over there, like she gonna treat you different. That's being stupid. But if you see that this woman has had a whole a phase when she was younger, and then she's gotten older, and you haven't seen that she don't got a bunch of kids running around, a bunch of baby daddies. um Not, don't, you don't have to feel sorry for her, but give her grace. At least give her the
Right.
opportunity. But a lot of times I think we both do it. I think both sides do it. Men pick women that are not good women, and women pick men that are not good men. We just do it. Why do we do that? But we do it. We do it. They are
All right, so
attractive and they're fun. You know what I'm saying? It's like the dark side. It's like playing with Satan. It's fun.
we'll get to that. So the singing, the singing chef, he says, I don't think I've ever heard a single mother explain I didn't see him as a husband, but then explain why a man didn't see fit for marriage was suitable, or oh, you didn't see fit for marriage was suitable for procreating with, and then imprinting on your child. Did she knowingly choose to create even more broken homes by continuing the cycle? But I honestly think she dropped a massive gem. Women fall in love with words. This is more meaningful than we think. This
Right.
explains why Boo Pill Rob isn't an interest or as interesting as Body Count Kai.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so his first question.
Okay.
You didn't see him as a husband, but you saw him as a potential father.
No, I
Help
didn't.
us make sense of that.
I didn't see him as a father either. I was just sleeping with him. I think people don't understand that I was what, 20, maybe, and I met him. You know what I'm saying? He seemed like he was a really nice guy. He was older than me, so I thought he was more mature. You know what I'm saying? And we were just sleeping together, and boom, second time I had sex with him, pregnant. That's it. You know what I'm saying? What else you want me to say? I found out that I was pregnant at 12 weeks, and I had 1 week to decide if I was going to keep the baby or not. I decided to keep the baby. And that's just how that went, really. Like, I decided that I did not want to have an abortion, and that I would be a single mom. I made that decision because I also said I didn't want to be with a man that now we got to be together because of a kid, because I've seen people do that too, and I just didn't want to do that. Like, if I wanted to be with him, I wanted it to happen before the kid situation, and it would be a choice, and we make a baby in love. But we just made a baby, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to put my son in a broken home pretending like we liked each other like that. You know what I'm saying? We were just doing it. That's it. That's it. And if you want to be honest, I would have preferred for the person that I was talking to before him to be the dad, to be honest. But it's not what happened. So, What do you want from me? You want me to lie and say, "Oh, I loved him"? I didn't love him, and I
I
didn't
think
pretend
what
like I wanted to love him. I didn't want to pretend to love him. Like I
well,
didn't.
I think what's difficult for us as men to wrap our minds around is we were kind of led to believe that women's hearts and vaginas had some kind of relationship. And in order to get to a woman's vagina, you kind of have to get to her heart as well.
Okay.
So whether the woman makes a conscious choice that, he's going to be the father of my child, I think men process it as if your body said yes and your mind granted access, some deep part of you saw the man fit to not just have a kid with, because I think we simplify it by saying have a kid, but saw him fit to clone. Because that's essentially what you do when you have a man's child. So help us understand that. As a woman who actually has to do the cloning, help us understand where we miss it. And I want to say this because you hear a lot of women simultaneously say, "Yeah, he wasn't shit. He still ain't shit. He ain't never gonna be shit." But like, I put my life on the line for 9 months to give the world another version of him.
It's just not.
So,
It's not taught to us like that. Like as I said, when we didn't have the sex talk, it's like I put my life on the line. Like, nobody tells you having a baby equals potentially dying. Like it's not given to us like that. It's just not. And I don't care. I don't want people to be fake, but who? What person in the black community has ever been told that? If that was the case, we wouldn't have all these baby kids running around here, right? Let's be real. So nobody's been. We haven't. I had never. I didn't know that. I'm telling you, like, look. I'm sorry that somebody told y'all that mind, all of that was connected, but sometimes it's not. It's just sometimes it's not. And again, a woman will fall in love with words more than sleeping with a man. But for me, in my instance, I can't speak for any other woman. In my instance, I was just sleeping with him. That's it.
that's
That's it.
interesting.
I
So
was.
I mean, outside of because and that was my biggest revelation on my journey to understanding women because there was a lot of things that I assumed and I think a lot of men assume that women kind of know innately
Mhm.
just because of everything that's required to be a woman, right? Like it's the from your menstrual cycle to your pH balance and all that shit. So we assume as men, women are a bit more cautious, women are a bit more discriminatory in who they grant access. Therefore, if it means more if you can get some pussy than it means for a woman to get dick, right? Because there's just a lot more boxes, whether she's conscious of it or not, there are a lot more boxes she needs to check than the average guy. Are we misunderstanding that? And like women can just really move like men, or like is there some truth to that?
There is some women that can move like men. It just depends on what stage of life she's in too. Like, I had told you that I had the mindset that I was just not even going to get married. Remember? Like I was like I had made I didn't want kids and I wasn't going to get married. And so I wasn't in the mindset of looking at him as a potential forever. Does that make sense? I was just, he sounded like he's a cool dude. Like he was cool, had a job, looked like he had it together. Somebody I wouldn't have to worry about driving me crazy because he was busy too. And that's what I was just, remember I said I did not want to be responsible for anybody's feelings. So when I looked at him, I just checked off all the boxes to make sure that I wouldn't have to be responsible for his feelings. I went in with a different mindset. Does that make sense? And so there are women who initially don't have that mindset that I had at that age, but develop it over time because they have been hurt. Does that make sense? But again, women are not taught to have any type of mindset when it comes to men in the first place, not a realistic one. We have Disney movies, we have, again, TV shows. A lot of times women see what they see on TV, and that is what they're looking for outwardly in these streets. They're not, or they see their dad and their mom, and so they look for something like that. But it's just based on a visual more so than them trying to really figure out what it is that they want.
So I mean, if that's the case,
Hmm.
why do you think women decide against contraception and then also decide against the plan B and then the even the option to terminate the pregnancy? If the case is the woman is not looking for something serious but ends up with, do you think women look at it as like this is my baby as opposed to I'm cloning somebody?
Yeah, they definitely look at it as it's my baby situation for sure. I've heard people. Have you not heard a woman say that it's my baby? You haven't heard that from come out of somebody? I've heard it. Yeah, I've heard that before.
In your situation, what made you go this way instead of this way? Because
I
you had other options.
Yeah, I looked at having an abortion as murder. Like my conscience would not allow me to think that that was okay. And that was from taking somebody, this is real, from taking somebody in my younger years when I was living back in LA to go get one, you know what I'm saying? And then it bothered me the whole time, like the after effect and all of that stuff. Like just taking somebody messed with my mental. I just know that I could not handle doing that to myself. Does that make sense? So I just made the conscious decision to go into this by myself. Like I wasn't gonna force him to be a dad and all that stuff because I knew that that's not what we were doing. But that's not it for certain people. Like, again, men and women have these pre-relationships where they're talking all the time and they have these, in-depth conversations and they feel like they like each other, they have sex, and then she ends up pregnant. And that's why they think that they want more in the situation. It just was not my case. Does that make it? Just wasn't. I didn't do what everybody did for the mind situation to be involved in that.
So, do you think? Obviously, I think the community has a responsibility to get that message to young girls that it is deeper than just fucking somebody.
Yeah, especially at that young age, like you, yeah, yes,
So,
yes.
what would you like to see more of from women getting that? Because to be fair, it's not men's responsibility to
Mm-mm.
give women that game. So, what would you like to see more from older women, letting the young girls know that listen, it's not just dick, it's more.
Right. I feel like we need to have like mentorships and then like I wouldn't say conferences, but like just go to the school and have a panel of women discussing sex and all of that stuff with young women. I think they have a sex ed class in high school, so I don't know. But like during that time, have different women and different ethnicities too, so that they can get a wide perspective of what different women go through during these times and what to do and what not to do. But we have to teach each other. Like we have to be honest with it. Like when I say what I say, other women would have pretended like they had something going on with the man, so they didn't seem like, oh, they were just an irresponsible or being a hoe or whatever. I can't do that. I have to tell you, I was not going into that situation with that man thinking that we were going to have forever. I wasn't. And when I found out I was pregnant, I was 12 weeks, right? And at that time, 13 weeks was the limit. I had 7 days to figure out what I was going to do. And I was still in disbelief. I took 10 pregnancy tests, okay? Because in my mind, I was invincible and this could never have happened to me, right? And that's what a lot of people think. Like a lot of teenagers, a lot of young people are like, what? This cannot be happening to me, but it is happening to you. And because we act like it's just, it's just sex, we don't are really giving them the game. They think it's easy. Like I told one person this, I was like, my life may look good, but being a single mom ain't fun. It's not. Was not fun. Nobody was with me when I had $6 in my bank account and couldn't figure out what I was going to do, or when the buttons in my TV broke and I had to use the pencil to turn the channels for my son. Y'all don't know all this. It looks like glitz and glamour now, but you don't know what we've been through. Shoot, my son doesn't even know what we've been through because he didn't. I made sure he didn't know. So it's not glitz and glamour. I don't go around here saying, yes, be a single mom, be like me. No, I don't do that. I think that's dumb. I think it's dumb, and I try to downplay everything I do because I don't want anybody to grow because I was out of order in what I did. So that's my accountability. So that's the speeches that everybody gets when they come to get their hair done or whenever they see me in the streets. I give everybody the same spiel. You don't want to do this. You don't want to do this because it's not all that it cracks up to be. And I hate seeing women with their little drinks and their tea and their single mom and they've got a kid and trying to make it look like it's the best thing since sliced bread when it's not. It's just not.
Help me understand this, because this has been a sticking point for me with some ways that I'm seeing women move these days,
Okay.
especially during these interviews. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance that I'm seeing with women. And what I mean by that is specifically with like the submission talk. Like a lot of, especially young girls these days, they are offended by the word submission. They view submission as a regressive kind of lesser role. And what I've been trying to explain is that the mechanics of sexual intercourse require submission. One person is being entered, one person is entering. One person is being bent over, one person is on their back. Like literally the mechanics of sex require submission. I think the natural train of thought would be, well, I should only want to engage in this inherently submissive act with somebody that I have some level of admiration for, some level of respect for, regard for, as opposed to just somebody.
Right.
So why do you think there's that disconnect? Because for me, I think that should be common sense. Maybe it's not, but like, why do you think a lot of women think that, like, even this whole sexual empowerment thing, they think that moving like men is empowering, even though the literal mechanics put you at a disadvantage?
The whole thing puts you at a disadvantage because really we're the ones that suffer all the consequences of sex. Like, what we do? I don't know. It's just the lack of education. The only thing I could say is the lack of education and the lack of assuming responsibility for our actions. And that's it. We, I don't know. I haven't heard, I don't try to listen. I don't listen to other women. So I'm not quite sure, what their language is when they say they don't want to be submissive to a man. So I'm kind of in the dark on how it goes with their thought process. But I would just say the lack of accountability and the lack of education. The lack of things being worded like that, because you word things a little bit more realistically. That's it.
Listen, I give it, because again, like, I think as a man, one of the things that I guess red pilled me, as some people might say, is the realization that women as a whole aren't necessarily as thoughtful as we were led to believe. Because as a young man, we were led to believe that, the average woman is 3 years more mature than her male peers and things like that. But then you see some of the decisions and some of the thought processes and you're like, where?
Yeah.
Because again, like on the high end, we're talking STDs, pregnancy. On the low end, we're talking about your pH balance being thrown off. So we assumed as men that I had to be that guy in her eyes. I had to hit some level of something where I was willing to, or she was willing to endure the worst case scenario for me. Because I've proven that I have the level of integrity or I have the projection where, like, she'll be all right. Like, even if it doesn't end in marriage or whatever the case may be. But I thought that's how women were making selections. Now I'm coming to find out that level of thought isn't even there. Now, what I struggle with is I do agree that some of it should be taught,
Hmm.
but I also think some of it should just be a consequence of women's biology. Like whether or not you're taught about your period, you're still gonna bleed once a month.
Right,
So at
right.
some point in your life, you take the initiative to get more acquainted with it, maybe lessen your cramps or whatever the case may be. And I assume that the same thing would happen when it comes to the consequences of who you choose to entertain physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually. At least as a woman, dudes, we can move differently because it's not that deep for us. But women, I thought y'all were a little bit more thoughtful than that.
I mean, look at society. I mean, like, what you want me to say? You want me to say yes, we are? That's a lie. I would be lying to you because the results are outside. Like, if you just the results, you see them every day. Like, what am I supposed to tell you?
Well,
Obviously, I guess.
but here's I want to finish why it bothers me because we're still expected as men to pay a premium. And I think back in the day, or even, in more traditional situations,
Mhm.
men were willing to pay that premium. What I mean by that premium is like being expected to make the first move, being expected to pay for dates, being expected to defend her with your life and things like that. I think men were willing to take that deal because there was a level of thoughtfulness and things like that that came with women. But
Mhm.
now we're seeing that that's not necessarily the case. So my fear is that this next generation of men, your son's generation, my daughter's generation, are going to be disincentivized from looking at women as a prize, a gift, something worth cherishing, something with inherent value, because women aren't moving like they are worth the extra effort that they are still demanding from us.
But that's where we have to take responsibility and do better with women. Have to take the responsibility and do better with the next generation, because I feel like I don't know when it got lost on women that somebody would be with back in the day, where there was a wanting to protect that person, where the teaching or got lost, like where it stopped being innate within us to be those people. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know, when that stopped, but it stopped at some point. Like, where we're desensitized to being what you would think is thoughtful, or to care necessarily about the things that you guys think we should care about. I don't know. I don't know how to
So
word that to you.
what do women care about? Just because I'm trying to bridge the gap of understanding. What is it that women do care about, and how is it different from what men think women care about?
We have to go by age range, and
Let's
I think
break it down.
I no, I'm just saying, like, I think that that's where we're messing up. Like, I think, like, in that age of, like, what's 15 to 20, I wasn't thinking about the things that you're discussing. Like, I didn't think about any of that stuff, and like I said, nobody talked to me. My mom didn't sit me down and be like, this is blah blah blah, this is that and that. I didn't get that, and I don't think a lot of kids get that type of talk. And so, over time, of course, it's changed, and I feel like time shouldn't have made the standard for me, that I should have had, you know, that discussion prior to. And so that's, I mean, it's going to have to be a discussion. I know you don't think it should be, but it's not an innate thing. It's just not. We have to be trained up. It's just not. It's not an innate thing. It's
Okay, how would you explain people of other cultures? Because I can speak as a Nigerian. My parents probably think I'm still a virgin, and I'm a dad. Like I didn't get no damn talk. My sister sure as hell ain't get no damn talk. So like, what do you think is the difference? Because I, I I I'm not seeing enough evidence to think that the differentiating factor is getting the talk.
So what do you think it is then? Because I mean, I'm being honest. Like, I don't know what else it could possibly be. because the kids are influenced by TV and everything else. So what else would change it? Like what else would change it? The only thing I could say, I know that grandparents would have, like, you had a grandma that kind of would talk to you. She would pull you to the side, like, hey, just quick. That's what you're not doing that. Don't be nasty.
I didn't have any
You didn't
grandparents,
have
so I
grandparents, but you
can't.
just knew not to be nasty. Like some people just don't know. When did you have sex? How old were you when you had sex?
15.
Me too. Why did you have sex at 15? You didn't know nothing about it. Why'd you do it?
Because she was thick. That's it. And I was a little horny boy, so that's what happened. But I think
Okay.
I mean, even with that being said,
Okay.
I would still assume that in general, men's considerations are different than women's considerations. And men's priorities are different than women's priorities. And as a dude, I had my thoughts and worries even at that time, like, what will happen if I get this girl pregnant? How can I do it? But I wasn't thinking about like potentially carrying a baby and a human being growing inside me.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was a female version of me and I chose to have sex at 15, I would assume naturally those are the things I would concern myself with. Okay.
Nope. And especially not initially, like maybe afterwards when you're like, oh man, you know what I'm saying? But like prior to? Nope. Mm-mm.
Let me read some more super chats. Shout out to Low Key, still Low Key 21 with the $20 super chat. Appreciate it, brother. He says just support. Shout out to Leon again.
Oh, I go to the gym. I do what I'm supposed to do when I go to the gym.
Leon says one of the best ways to meet people who are consistent is the gym. 9 times out of 10, the gym could show how motivated a person is and how ambitious an individual is. The problem, though, is there is I don't know if you've seen like the TikTok videos, the Instagram videos of women filming men looking at them at the gym and trying to like me too it and things like the popular thing is that the gym is the incorrect place to walk up to a woman. So what's difficult?
When did that start?
Oh, it's been a thing. But what's difficult is our culture currently is not telling men the green flags. It's only telling men the red flags.
Oh.
Don't DM me. Don't walk up to me at the bar. Don't walk up to me in the gym.
I didn't say that. I said I want to see you in person. Like I just said I like to see people in person. Okay, but I mean, I guess the DM situation, I don't know.
Hey.
Listen, y'all are confusing me. I just kind of like regular old stuff like that makes sense where I can see you and be like, okay, you know what I'm saying? But like, hey, now I know that you can't talk to me.
I think the core question that you have to ask yourself is it working? Is whatever you're doing currently working? If it is, then fuck me and whatever I have to say, fuck the people in the chat. But if it's not working, you have to be humble enough and you have to be self-aware enough to make a change.
Yeah. I had no
that
problem.
might. Okay. All right. Listen, you receptive to it? Okay. Shout out to I am DPP. Just became a channel member. Appreciate it, brother. It really helps this work. Let me do this. I want to drop the link because I don't want this to go over 3 hours. If anybody wants to call in and talk. First of all, Jamie, do you have time?
I do. Yeah. No,
okay. All right. So we'll do a 30-minute thing. First couple of people up. And if we can't get to you, I'm sure we can bring Jamie back. So I'm going to drop the link. But while I do that, what are your thoughts on this conversation so far? I know we've been hounding you about this DM.
I know. I just don't understand. Okay.
What don't you understand?
Who me?
Ask me questions.
Like you mean like you asking me the question about the conversation? I think we
No, no,
touched
no. I'm
on
saying, no.
what
You
I
said you don't understand, so I'm saying ask me questions. Let
yeah,
me
I don't
hopefully
understand like
clarify.
the situation. Like what if that's just not what I desire? Is that too much? But then see, but now that you're putting it into perspective, like, okay, men don't know if they should talk to you at the gym, blah blah blah. Okay, I get it a little bit more now. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know what restrictions y'all have because I didn't look at it like that. I didn't. I don't even wear things at the gym really to entice a man to look at me. To be honest, I wear sweats. So if you talk to me at the gym, I'm shocked anyways because I'm not wearing the tights that old girl is wearing back there that is intentionally trying to make you look at her and then she gets mad at it. Like I don't even want to do that. The only time you see that outfit is when I get done. You know what I'm saying? After I go and do the other stuff, because I took off the sweats and I was sweating, then you actually see the outfit underneath the sweats. But I don't do that.
Okay. Real quick, shout out to the brother Wrench with the $10 super chat. Just love. He says on the wood, good brother. I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you. All right, so we've got another good brother in the back. I'm sure he has some questions. I saw him in the chat.
Oh my, what did you
we
say?
got Mr. Money, Marriage, and Media. And hello, before I bring you up, brother, let me read this super chat. I am DPP. He says the black family relied too much on religion to talk to their children versus them actually having a conversation with the children themselves. Absolutely.
I agree. Yep.
Courtney says, get some
why
cute
can't
gym
I have
clothes.
sex? You know what I'm saying? Get you some cute. I do. I have them. I do. I have them underneath the sweats. I do. I got me some cute gym clothes. Yeah.
Okay.
I got matching outfits and everything, but I don't go there with the intent to entice anybody like that. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's kind of like if you do talk to me, cool. Like I'm like, oh okay, and then you might that's it. Because you're talking to me based on something else, right? So that's it. But like I do got
Okay. Let's work backwards. So what in your mind, like let's say you could author your own book, right? What would a perfect situation look like? Since DMs aren't a perfect situation. So give me a play by play. All right, I was here doing this and then he walked up and did that. All right, talk to me.
No, I'm not doing that. That's nope.
What's the issue with that?
With what me telling you that? Because then somebody could try. I'm not doing it. I don't even have a perfect situation. I'm just saying that I just want to see the person in person. That's it. Like I just want to see you in person. You know what I'm saying? That's it. But I mean, I guess that's not the norm anymore. The DMs are. Okay. I'm not happy about it. And I'm probably will never be happy about it. But like, I'm taking what you guys are saying into consideration.
Okay, so what range of man are you looking for, like age range? Because that also dictate things.
No older than like 45.
No younger than what?
Ooh, no younger than like 35. So like just a 10-year, 35 to 45.
Okay, all right. Well, hey, if they in the DMs, at least now you'll open them. Deal. Oh my God! All right, I guess I'll take what I can get. That didn't sound enthusiastic, but
Yes,
it is what it is.
yeah.
Shout out to S. She put the link to your DM. Slide in Jamie's DMs on Instagram,
That was wrong.
and also get some skincare products as well.
That's all I'm saying. That part.
So it looks like Money, Marriage, and Media is having some technical difficulties. So if anybody else wants to come up, this is your opportunity.
I do got some cute gym clothes though. Like don't get that. I just
Okay, well Courtney, she got some cute gym clothes.
do. They're real cute.
All right. All right. So he is back. The man, the myth, the legend. Let me go ahead and pull him up, and then I'm gonna have y'all dialogue. You know,
You're
I'm a
smiling
background
too
type of
much. I feel
person.
like this is somebody that's got a very opinionated, you know.
Nah. He's a solid brother. He's a solid
Okay,
brother. But you know, I like to give latitude. But all right, I'm gonna let y'all talk. What's going on, brother? You muted.
I hear him.
Is that better?
There we go. There we go. All right,
Okay.
y'all go at it.
So, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Better than I deserve.
Okay, that's good. That's always a bonus, right?
Yeah. So you posed some interesting topics, mostly about um, raising children. Personal opinion. One of the things I talk about is that one of the social constructs that's broken in our community, that's preventing us from building, is the way we raise our children.
Mhm.
I think that we're raising our children to participate and be active members in the gender war. So you mentioned that you have a son, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, because I'm having issues and it keeps going in and out, so I'm trying to be quick as possible.
I got
Um,
it.
yeah. So what issues do you see, or the better question is that how do you feel when you look at the girls that are his age, as far as the way they're
Concern.
being raped, concerned?
Yeah. Yeah, because they don't communicate very well. They already like the bad boy. Really bad boys. Like not your typical like it's just the athlete. They're like really, get suspended, always in trouble. And they get excited off of that. And so the young ladies technically don't have any ambition for a potentially good man or, no aspirations for something better, to be honest. So it is concerning for me.
So then, obviously we touched on the topic, or you guys touched on the topic tonight about there not being enough um, good men around. My question then is that how do you go about making sure that your son is going to be a good man without creating the because we talked about the son husband, or you guys did. So how
Yeah.
do you go about raising a son who's going to be a leader, but also avoiding son husband,
Mhm.
or you're avoiding what women his age will value is not going to, like, what he's going to become is not going to be valuable to women until later in life. Because
We
that's
we've
go
kind
ahead.
of had that discussion. So because he's like a straight A student, honor student, all of those type of things. I had to have a discussion with him because I knew mentally it'd probably play on him and he would start to want to divert who he is to the bad boy so that he could be more appealing to women. Does that make sense? I'm just being not to the girls in school. And so I had to give him the game on how the girls in his that he's going to be interacting right now with are going to act. Does that make sense? Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah. And so at first he didn't believe me. You know what I'm saying? But we ran it, and I said to allow him to talk to whoever he wants to, go through the process, and then he just comes back and he be like, "This is what she said. What does that actually mean?" So at least I give him that game to be like, okay, I think she's saying that. Like, then I go, and I'm not gonna lie, I go and look up the mama sometimes to try and see like where the girl's home is. You know what I'm saying? To give him a better gameplay on the situation. Are you wasting your time with her? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you? Because I don't at this like he's gotten his heart broken twice already, and so we just go through the process of the emotions. But I always let him know like he's not going to be valued right now with who and what he brings to the table. Does that make sense? Uh, and I and,
Absolutely.
and I don't want that to change because he's a great kid. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want a female who doesn't know who she is yet to ruin that man, that potentially good man. So I just have that open dialogue as much as I could. And then I have like he goes to a men's group, and then he does the other part that he doesn't necessarily tell me with those men's groups. So he has a few men's mentors per se.
Yeah. So as
Oh, your phone's breaking up.
yeah.
I can't hear you.
I think we lost him.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think we lost him. Money Marriage, I'm gonna drop you down, brother. I've got another good brother in the back. I see Afro Disciple. I'm gonna pull you up real fast. Afro, what's up, man?
What's going on? Can you guys hear me? Got a new
Yeah,
headset.
yeah,
All right, cool, cool, cool.
yeah. Y'all
No,
do
this
your
is
thing.
it was very enjoyable. I'm sorry, what's your name again? Sorry, did I see? Oh, Jamie. All right, nice to meet you. Um, I had a couple of questions for you that was just kind of on my mind. One of the things I was thinking about because you're just talking about raising a son, and I was just thinking like now, knowing how you are and the kind of person that you've grown into, are you the kind of person that you would like to see, like you would like your son to be with when he gets older?
I would want him to be with somebody actually better than me, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. Um, I still have flaws, like you know what I'm saying, because I was a certain age before I realized that I needed to change. So what I would like to do, and what part of our goal is to try and help young women to create the standard at a younger age, so that boys whose mother has raised them properly have better options, right? So technically, I would want him to be with somebody better than me. To be
Hmm.
honest, like he may think that I'm great, you know what I'm saying? But he knows like things that I've done in the past, like the trouble that I've been in, all of that stuff, because I'm honest with him. Just because some things are generational, and I just want to make sure that he knows what he has to possibly fight in life. You know what I'm saying? Just because of his dad's DNA and mine. So I take responsibility for my stuff. But I want him to have somebody better than me. I want him to have somebody that has the same core values as him, that hasn't, been promiscuous at one point in their life. I don't want him to walk into a situation with somebody who was revived if he doesn't have to.
Hmm.
But I do want him to be able to give that person the grace if he does decide to. So I try to train him for both. Does that make sense? Because we don't know what he's going to have options to.
No, that makes great sense. Now, also on a flip side, um, do you want him to be like his father when he gets older?
If you want to be honest, like aside from his dad having the dark side of the moon, you know what I'm saying? Besides that, actually, his dad, has great attributes. And that's what I always told my son. You have, like, his dad was super smart at math, great in the band. My son has all of those great things. So I cannot take, sole accountability for his greatness, because some of those things were genetic to me. And so he has great things from his dad, but he also has sometimes the anger, you know what I'm saying? And so those are things that we have to deal with, possibility. So um I don't want him to be a hoe like his father. You feel me?
Yeah.
But like all of the other stuff that he got from his dad, cool. And if he has good charm and eloquence of speech whenever he gets older like his dad did, cool. But I don't want him to manipulate women with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because the only reason I ask is like this is a conversation that I have with my friends, and I also have with my wife from time to time. Because people ask how I met my wife or how I chose her, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the big reasons of why I did choose her is because I said that if I was going to have a daughter, I want her to be just like her, and if I have
Mm-hmm.
a son, I want him to find someone just like her.
Right.
So these are the things I just like as a community. I hope that we can just start asking those questions and start putting those things out because I think, as you alluded to earlier, we don't vet for marriage.
Mm-hmm.
We don't vet for partnership. We just
Yeah.
kind of go with the flow, and it keeps putting us in a bad position.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so how do we, uh, you know, get to a better position? I think it starts with that. Like when you're looking at a girl, yeah, she's cute, but if I possibly knock this chick up, do I want a mini version of her running around, and
Right.
I gotta raise that? Absolutely not.
Right. So like the very first girl that he ever had a real crush on in junior high, she actually is just like me.
Hmm.
and she already has standards, so she's not focused on dating anybody in high school and all of that stuff, and so she's off limits. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But she literally, like, when I saw her, I was like, oh my god, wow, right? It was a little scary, a little bit.
Isn't that what y'all wanted? I keep hearing, don't you want somebody like your mama? Haven't I heard?
Right.
So he did it.
But he knows that she's off limits. So the other ones that he has, attempted to talk to, there's been a variety of different,
Mhm.
women, but none like her. They didn't have a standard like she did. So I would say if he was to piggyback anywhere, it'd probably be initially back to that very first person when she's, you know, allowing herself to get to know somebody.
And I also wanted to touch on the thing that you said earlier about white folk, because you're talking about, I guess, one of your son's friends, like he already knows the kind of wife he wants to have. And I don't, the only problem I have with that, it's like something I kind of feel like we do in our community, is
Mhm.
that we kind of mythologize white folk like they're doing shit better than us, and it's like, no,
Oh,
they messed
you're the
us.
one that said that, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. And, yeah.
I'm not saying that they're doing it better than us. I just feel like we're not doing it at all,
Mm,
And so, you know, because I'm doing it with him, he's able to have those type of conversations with his friends, like what their ideals are. They're all on the same level educational wise, and so he doesn't, you know what I'm saying? But it's not like that for everybody. And I remember one time, uh prom, they're calling out the court or whatever.
oh
Every
yeah.
time they called out a white kid, they were like, and they applied to this college and this college and whatever, right? And when they when they called out the black kids, they had none of that to say. And I just was really bothered that night leaving the high school, football game prom situation, when
Mm.
our kids had nothing already planned. And I said, these kids, how did they have stuff already planned and we don't? And that's why even from that night, I pressed that on my son to make sure that at least let's have a little bit of a plan. And that's all. I'm not saying take away the kid from the kid, but like these kids are still allowed to be children, but they have a plan for their future.
Well, it's funny because like I married into a situation where I think everyone had a much more stability, and I
Hmm.
think for a lot of our kids, they don't have that stability. So it's hard to plan when you don't have stability.
You're
So it's
right.
not like it's not just a choice thing where it's like I'm choosing not to go to college or I'm choosing
Yeah,
not to plan for the future. I don't even know if I have a future.
that's true.
I don't. So it's like it's. I think it's unfair to kind of compare them to people who don't have the same
Right,
hurdles that we have to jump over. So it's like, yeah, of course, like Johnny and Simone can plan for college and marriage and all that because one, their parents probably have the money to send them. They don't
right,
have to take out all kinds of loans. And secondly, they don't have to worry about if I leave, whatever like part-time job I have helping the family might have everything else implode. Like I don't get to just freely go out into the world as easily. So it's just like when you said that, I'm like, they're messy too. Like I've grown
yeah.
up around,
And no,
and
you actually said it. You said they're messy too,
yeah,
yeah, because their kids are bad too. Don't get that.
yes,
They get in trouble. They have parties and secrets and stuff like that.
mhm,
But again, so we see that there's a problem, right? You just said it. That some of these kids don't have hope, and maybe it's the lack of hope that caused the continuous cycle
mhm.
that we're in, because we have more kids without stability than we do with stability.
So then, how do we change it?
The people that do have some sense are going to have to get out there in them streets. And let me tell you, like, getting out there in them streets is not easy. Like, a lot of my time is consumed with community stuff. Like, I said to somebody the other day, like, I'm losing money. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but I am. And so, but to me, it's better to lose money now than to lose these children, because it's that
Mhm.
bad. You know what I'm saying? It's really that bad for us because they don't have a hope. And a lot of these kids, they just want to graduate, but then you want to graduate and do what exactly?
But that I think you alluded to it earlier, and I think first, like step number one is you got to give people a stable home, a stable thing to fall back on. Because again, I noticed it within myself and with my spouse is that She grew up more stable than I did, and I don't feel like I have a safety net. So I approach everything with crises in my mind. I approach everything with a sense of urgency, and her
Wow.
attitude is it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay because everything has
Right.
always been okay. I
Mm-hmm.
got kicked out of the house and had to like sleep in my car. She's never understood what that kind of lifestyle is like. So for her, it's just like, why do you act like everything's so dire? So I think the number one thing for a lot of these kids is like to give them a very soft place to land. Like,
Mm-hmm.
look, it might not work outside, but you can come back here and figure things out and then go back out and try again. Not this, if it doesn't work out now, I'm dead kind of like, kind of
Right.
thing.
Right. It's the grace that we lack. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like for instance, somebody was like, "Okay, are you going to make him move out at 18?" And I was like, I mean, why would I just kick him out like that? But he's already planning, how he's going to function at 18. He had a job. You know what I'm saying? He already had a job. So,
Mhm.
and he's looking for another job, but what he wants doesn't allow him to get hired till he's 16. So he's got a couple months and he's going to go get that job. But he's already planning, you know what I'm saying? Okay, but if you let me stay until about this age right here, this is what I can do. And so if he has a plan, I don't see the point on just kicking him out at 18. Like somebody wanted me to just kick him out at 18 for what? Other places, other people don't do that. Like why do we be ready to get rid of our children? Are they not that bad? You know what I'm saying? To
Because we've learned to not we've learned to internalize our self worth based on what other people think. So that's why we can throw away our kids so easily.
Mhm.
Like this attitude of you should be out there working at 18 when there's nobody that I have ever seen that is successful. Like I work in a corporate situation. Everybody I work with, two family household, there's not these hard luck stories. Like, yes, it's once in a while, but out of 1,000 people,
Right.
999 of them had stable households. Most of these people were
Mhm.
able to go to college without debt, or if they had debt, they had help or they had a place to stay. It wasn't this thing you go out there on your own at 18 on this Wild Wild West shit, pull yourself up there by your bootstraps nonsense that people love to say. And again, we push that more so on our men, more so than our like man up, be a man, go out there, go into this world.
Right.
And 18, you're a fucking kid. I don't give a shit what anyone says. You're a
You're a
child.
child. Yes. Yes. So, okay, good. That makes me feel better. I'm not wrong for not kicking him out at 18, but I'm not mothering him either. Like he's right now he's to me he's too responsible. He had his own phone bill. He does all this stuff. He's actually paid his phone bill up 3 maybe 4 months. We went to go get his phone fixed, and the lady was like, "You have this much on the account." I was like, "Where'd you get that from?" So it just like he takes the little money that I give him, and he makes sure things are done before he has fun, even now. So I mean, I think if our men would have been taught that early on, you would have alleviated a lot of problems. You get what I'm saying? But also, our women are not being taught how to handle a man like that. So
Mm,
that's
yeah.
where we're trying. Where I'm somebody gonna have to help us fill in this gap. Other women are gonna have to step up, and we're gonna have to fill in this gap because men are starting to take accountability. Men are starting to change. Young men are starting to do what they're supposed to do, and now women are. You can't play victim no more after this, right?
Alan must be loving this conversation because he constantly says, these are the kind of conversations we're going to have that's going to build up the community.
Mhm.
I'm more of a black masculinist and I'm more of preserve the mental health of black boys and men.
Mhm.
But like talking to you right now, it's like, all right, it's good to hear that it's like, no, we also got to teach women to deal with these men,
Yeah.
the traumas that they have, and not just put it on men to always deal with the trauma that the women have because
Right.
that's how we're socialized.
Yeah. And it's not. If we did that, it's so much easier, right? Like we would be doing this. Like I'm gonna keep saying that we'll be doing this instead of this all the time. It would be so easy. Like I said, who doesn't want to come home and say, "Babe, I don't feel like talking today," and we just really get it. Like I'm feeling
I wish I could. I wish
right
I
without her being like, "What did I do to you?" Right?
could.
Right?
Damn, you living in my house. That's funny.
But until we get to this level where you're like, do you know your man? Like, if he says that, do you
Mhm.
know him? Like, okay, well, let me go get you some of this and get you some of this, and if I rub your feet, can you rub mine? Because I'm tired too. But we don't got to say nothing.
Oh my God! No!
right, that was perfectly. All right, he ended that perfectly. I got nothing else to add. That was great. That was box perfect. Again, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, Jamie. This
Yeah,
was dope.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm glad you got on here because I was like, who was that? I was gonna get on you when I got done. So I wasn't trying to be messy. I'm just trying to, like not to compare, but we to me, if you want to be honest, I think Black people are great.
Hmm.
I think that we have, even in the environment that we have been breeded in and the circumstances we have been given, we're still
Hmm.
great. That's scary. So
It is.
imagine if we are given the appropriate soil to grow, what that can look like.
But what's the soil? That's the problem. Like, I
Yeah,
think we need to like really have better
it-
conversations. What's the soil? Like, because yeah, the soil is us, and I think we can do things. It's just again, our biggest obstacle right now is that we have a community that won't listen to each other.
right.
Our women, you can't tell our women shit. Our men aren't. I mean, let's be frank. As much as I say our women aren't raised to be wives, or our men aren't raised to be husbands either. Too many motherfuckers don't want to grow up 40
Mhm.
years old, still out in these streets, bragging about the chicks that they bang like
Right,
kids.
right.
So no, there's work to be done, and I love to see the work, and it's good to know that there's people willing to do the
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we out here. I'm out here in these streets for real. Look, for real.
All right. Well, again, thank you again for talking to me. I hope you have a good night.
You too. You too.
All right,
Thank
bye.
you.
Shout out to that brother. I think we have. Oh, let me turn my camera on. I think we have come to a natural end. What are your thoughts? How do you
I think
think
it's
this
good.
went?
I think it's
Okay.
good. I mean, I don't have any complaints about anybody. I think I like to see perspectives and where we are because sometimes my head is too much in the community to see like the outskirts of the situation. And so this is good. I think it's good. I like to hear perspectives. I really don't get offended. I was only offended when somebody said I was abusing my child for telling the truth. That's it. That's the only comment that hurt my feelings. I was like, when did the truth become a problem? But
Right.
now that you put that into perspective as them thinking I was dumping emotions onto my child, which was probably that's inaccurate. So I get it. I can see how that
Yeah.
would be abuse, but no, that's not how that works in my
Yeah.
home.
But
So
listen, Jamie, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you lending us your time, your wisdom, your receptivity. To opening up your DMs to your potential husband. Listen, if your husband is in your DMs and you end up getting married and all that good stuff, listen, just send me a text message. Say, you
I'm
know
gonna
what,
have to
Alan,
come
you all
back.
right.
I'll come back on.
That's it. I don't want no money. I don't even want to invite. Just be like, yeah, you were right,
I'm like,
Alan.
lady, check your DMs. Like,
Listen, I'm just saying.
I'm
I'm
like,
just saying,
Courtney, you
make
was
things
right,
easier.
girl. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. But before I let you go, do you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to plug? Anything you're working on? You want to let the people know about? We still have 78 people in the room.
Yes. Okay. So I do have a Juneteenth event that is happening, and we have the ability to donate to that event. It is free to the community. I started off with 1 day. I got 3 days this year over here in this area. Basketball tournament, Juneteenth festival, and a Father's Day brunch because on Father's Days, fathers pay for their own meal, which technically is not a gift. And so what we decided to do was have a brunch that the fathers don't have to pay for, and they can come and relax and enjoy some spoken word and some good, poetry, and just chill out and relax. And so we still need donations because I have to pay for stuff, or we have to pay for stuff. And so I will give him the link to drop in there for the donations, and hopefully that's it. So that's all I need. Just some donations.
Awesome. Yep. Y'all definitely. After you send me, matter of fact, if you could send me the link right now, I'll put it up. I'll put it on the
I
screen.
don't even know. I'm not responsible right now. I don't think I have it where I can get
It's
it
all
right
good. It's
now.
all. You could text me after the stream, and I'll add it to the
I can.
description.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll add it to the description under the video once it goes once it gets published. But again, thank you. I appreciate you. Have a good evening. Have a
Yes,
good
don't work
week.
too hard. Don't
I'm
stay
gonna
up too
try not
late.
to.
Okay.
I can't promise that, but yeah, have a good week, and I hope your event turns out really well. Y'all definitely, if you can, donate anything, and also if you're in Nashville.
We are in, well, it's Tullahoma, Tennessee, so it's a
Okay.
little town off of. It's about an hour from Nashville.
Okay. Well, shit, if you're in Tennessee, pull up on her.
Yeah, pull up on me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, either way,
yeah.
I'll be in Nashville too, so you can pull up on me.
Right.
I just
And
sent you.
if you want to shoot your shot, that'll be an easier way to do it instead of her DMs. There. How about that? But again, Jamie, thank you so much.
All right,
I
thank you.
appreciate you. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Peace. Shout out to Jamie, very honest sister. Like I said, I appreciate honesty and authenticity. I think that is, at the very least, how we can move this conversation forward, not just idealism or idealistic thinking. So shout out to that sister. Thank you all for hanging out tonight. I got to stop saying it's going to be a short stream, because every time I say that, it ends up being 3 hours, 4 hours. So at this point, I'm going to just let the spirit move. But please just check the page periodically, click the videos tab. I promise I'm posting stuff. YouTube isn't telling people for whatever reason. So y'all, please help me out. If you haven't already, get your tickets to the 100 for this June 24th in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's do this thing live. Please don't wait until the last minute. Go ahead and get your ticket now if you can. Yeah, I appreciate y'all. If you guys want to reach out to me, head over to Instagram. The Instagram is growing, so feel free to follow on Instagram if you aren't already. I check the DMs, so if you want to contact me, consider becoming a channel member. Consider becoming a Patreon. Patreon is probably the best way to get in contact with me. But again, thank y'all. Have a good night. Have a good week. Peace.